What's up, Tru Heel Heat? Tru Heel Heat.
What's up?
Tru Heel Heat.
What's going on, everybody? This is your former AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Once a champion, always a champion. Swerve Strickland. Whose house? Swerve's house. You're watching Tru Heel Heat podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Schiavone of All Elite Wrestling, and this is Tru Heel Heat, and I said it right, you motherfuckers.
It is Saturday. You know what that means. It's time for another edition of our flagship podcast, the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast, coming off the heels of an all-timer AEW Revolution, especially if you cut it off after the steel cage match. But we're here to discuss all of that. We're here to ask the question, will women ever headline an AEW pay-per-view after they had the perfect chance to do it last Sunday? Will somebody, please, somebody end this Jon Moxley title reign, and who exactly it should be? Plus, Jeff Cobb might be going over to WWE. Roman Reigns is back. Yeah, the New Japan Cup is down to the final four. There's so much to discuss. Plus, we got a first-time, very special guest joining us today. It's the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. Let's get to it. Hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. We are back for another edition of our flagship podcast, Tru Heel Heat 320 Tone Deaf Riders, discussing the latest wrestling news, including the fallout from a fantastic AEW Revolution pay-per-view capped by an all-timer tone-deaf main event decision, Jeff Cobb in talks with WWE, a recap of this week in wrestling with Revolution and with the fantastic Toni Storm versus Mariah May Hollywood Ending match, Dynamite featuring my boy Speedball Mike Bailey in his AEW debut, Collision last Saturday, ROH TV, we had New Japan Japan Cup is down to the final 4 after week 2. The round of 16 and Elite 8 is behind us. Plus, you have WWE with WWE Raw on Netflix featuring the excellent CM Punk and Seth Rollins steel cage match and the return of Roman Reigns. NXT Roadblock featuring one of the best NXT TV shows ever, SmackDown last night in Spain, plus much more, including TNA Sacrifice. But the gang is here with a special guest this week. First up, gotta introduce my always co-host here, the Tru Draw himself, Josh. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Looking forward to talking about a lot that happened this week with wrestling, especially that NXT show. I got to actually watch it, day after, not live.
Not gonna watch it live. You was like, I heard the good things and then I'm gonna watch it. But we are also joined by a special guest this week, Josh, and everyone. She does amazing work. You've seen her over on bodyslam.net. You've seen her on Black Girls Wrestling. You've seen her talking about Dynamite on the Dynamite book, one of the best AEW Dynamite post shows in the game. Her writing is all over the place. You've even heard her at the media scrums for AEW and Ring of Honor in the past. It is Lyric Wrestling. Thank you so much for joining us this week. How are you feeling?
I'm good. Happy to be here. A little sleep deprived, but happy to be here.
I saw you at the 3 a.m., 4 a.m. your time with 2 screens for New Japan and Stardom?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. I feel like a couple months ago, I had a massive work schedule change, and so I'm trying to get back to my old ways of staying up for stuff. I feel like I recently had a birthday and I feel like I aged 10 years and I can't hang the way that I used to. But I'm trying to, get back to my old self.
That's good. That's good. I mean, you're not as old as me. I got the salt in my beard, so you're good. You're good on that part. But I understand. When I hit 25, I had a midlife crisis, so I understand.
No, same. My midlife crisis at 25, got me to actually start wrestling content. So that started wrestling content for me. So, we're 2 years in about 3 weeks. So that's going to be about 3 weeks. It makes 2 years.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're going to start the road to your anniversary today. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate y'all if you are joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Remember to show your appreciation back. The simplest way possible is by dropping the thumbs up on this video. You can also share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And of course, you can sound off in the live chat if you're joining us live. We love to interact with all of you. We'll try to highlight as many of your comments as possible. But of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, you want to show your support to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel and our flagship podcast every Saturday here, you can send a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. It goes back to the contributors that you see on screen with us here, and we always appreciate the support. We got Eric Isaacs in the chat with us today, one of our usual faces in the chat. He says, hey THH fam, a great week for wrestling for all as Mania season is at full speed, and happy birthday MJF. Yes, it is MJF's birthday, only 29 today. We got Belle in the chat who says, hello everybody, not gonna lie, NXT was probably my favorite show out of the 4 this week. We also got I Make Beats who says happy weekend THH. We also got Santo with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Santo, for the support. He says, good morning THH fam, great week of wrestling, hell yeah, for the Street Profits finally getting gold. Finally Triple H saw color this week. That was great. It was great. He finally saw color. It only took him about what? He's been in charge for 3 years.
Black power. Hey man.
Black power. I'm never. If y'all see that picture of Triple H shaking hands with the Street Profits, it was the most he was looking at me and being like, "Aight, nigga, damn, you see?"
It's so fun. I got a Montez Ford pop vinyl, and so I'm excited. I bought him and Bianca's at the same time. Family affair.
I love that. That family's doing well this week. That family's doing well. We also got a super chat donation here from Call Me Mr. Banda. Thank you so much, Mr. Banda, for the support. He says, thoughts on when the WWE ID titles will be SP. I mean, I mean, if you've been following the WWE ID Twitter account, or if you've seen this week's Evolve, I've never seen this much desperation. Be it like, please book us, please.
Pick me, choose me, love me, pick me, choose me, love me. It's very Meredith Grey from Grey's Anatomy.
Yo, I've never seen anything like this. Like from a big this is the biggest promotion in wrestling. Yet they have these ID athletes that they're begging to be on promotions, and then the ID Twitter account is saying GCW and FSW without tagging them. They don't even know how to beg right.
Like I think that they assume that just the mere, like the fact that the titles even exist, or the fact that the program even exists, like the rest of the pro wrestling world is supposed to bow, you know, and it's just disappointed, never surprised.
That's a great way to go about with things involving WWE and some of these big promotions. Sometimes just be disappointed, but never surprised.
Never surprised.
We got another super chat donation here from Call Me Mr. Banda. Thank you so much. He's showing some love to Lyric, saying, Lyric, love your style, man. Glad I found your YouTube. Yes, tell everybody about your YouTube, because you do great stuff over there. I remember I was over there last year talking about X-Men 97. You gave me a chance to talk more about X-Men 97, so thank you.
Yes, and I honestly need to resume that series. That was Maps and Yaps, and so like that's just like a couple, like just me talking about like shows and like movies and stuff that I like. But yeah, I have a YouTube channel at Lyric Swinton. That's with all the podcasts, any like video interviews that I have, as well as any of like my questions that I ask at media scrums and things like that. And there's a few travel blogs on there, like my Japan trip is on there. So yeah, just my first and last name at Lyric Swinton. That's my YouTube channel. And I have some stuff that's going to be coming there within the next couple months. Another non-wrestling stuff, some non-wrestling stuff is going to be coming. So really exciting. So please subscribe. And that's also where we're streaming the Dynamite Diaries rebrand starting next week. So starting this Wednesday, the Dynamite Diaries every Wednesday after Dynamite on my channel and at Black Girl Wrestling's channel.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know that we talked about our mutual love of Marvel. Please tell me you're watching Daredevil Born Again.
Okay, so I saw the first episode.
Okay.
I have not watched the second yet.
Are you still grieving from the first episode? Because it took me a while to really grieve the first.
You know what? I didn't really. I'm not sure I really liked the first episode. I think for me personally, but I also acknowledge that they did release 2 episodes at once. So I probably should watch the second one. So that's why I'm not making any firm conclusions, but it kind of felt slow to me. Like, you know, slow. I think I expected a little bit more action, especially compared to like, I don't know. I think that Marvel is doing things differently than they did like with the Netflix series. And so I think it's taking me some time to adjust. I've also been super busy. I'm not going to lie. New Japan Cup is why I am behind on Daredevil, but I do plan on catching up probably this weekend. I still have to watch Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I haven't started that yet. I recently just got to do Captain America, Brave New World. So I got to go see that. So I'm working on catching up, but I do like that they retain most of the cast. I think it is the grieving part. Absolutely. You know, like I felt it, but I didn't really get to let it sink in because I haven't seen the second episode yet. So I'm going to catch up. I promise.
That's fair. I still haven't watched Brave New World yet, but I did watch Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I do recommend watching that. That's probably the best Spider-Man adaptation to animation since the 94 series. I loved it. Loved it.
Brave New World, I also feel like it got a lot of like unfair criticism of like, especially like once I actually watched it, like, don't get me wrong. It's not a groundbreaking Marvel film, like by any means. It's not like the best, but it's nowhere near the worst. And I appreciate, as somebody who really loved Falcon and Winter Soldier, I love that they still kept following up on the concepts that they explored in Falcon and Winter Soldier, because I think that it opened up a lot of important conversations about like race in America, something. And I think, that particular movie coming out during Black History Month with the Black Captain America is really important, I think, to actually acknowledge like the weight of what that means. And so I love that they really like explored those topics during that film. And I think it's pretty good. And also I'm a Harrison Ford stan. Like anything that has Harrison Ford in it, that is my Han Solo. I love him down. So like seeing him in that film was like really cool. And who else is in there? Giancarlo is in that film. Like it's some real like acting heavyweights in that film. So I think people, should have been kinder to it. But I think a lot of people made their minds up before they even went to go see it.
Most definitely. I think you said the same thing, Josh, after you saw it. You was like, it's not as bad as people were making it out to be.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was a fun film. Obviously, when it comes to the situation, I mean, Chris Evans, it's really hard to replace Chris Evans of what he did with Captain America. But I felt like Anthony Mackie, for me, he basically sold me from the show. So I wasn't like really worried about him. What kind of worried me going into watching it was the reshoots. They did like 4 reshoots, and that's always a problem. And when I watched the film, there's certain things you could tell that was like cut, edited. I think maybe that's what hurt the perception of the film. But I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the shit out of it. I thought Harrison Ford was like the perfect person to replace to be Thunderbolt Ross, because the actor did pass away. The original actor did pass away. And and I felt like he did great when it came to like continuing that character, because it didn't really feel like it was didn't feel like it was different for me. So I like the fact that they did tie in certain things, like when it came to his transformation, and then like the ending scene basically with I don't want to spoil anything, but I thought that was like a nice
I did say I didn't watch the movie, man.
I'm saying like there's a part that it kind of like it helped his character more going forward, in my opinion. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was going to say also too, it takes you all the way back, because I think a lot of times when you think about the MCU universe, that original Incredible Hulk movie gets left out. And so this really pulled, like I had even like prepared myself. Like I rewatched, Falcon and Winter Soldier and all the Captain America movies. But this movie also like pulls a lot from like that original Incredible Hulk movie, like before they, recasted Edward Norton for Mark Ruffalo. So yeah, like they hit on a lot of really cool things, I say, in this film. And also, I would like to say, I have a theory that we always hear all this negative publicity and about these reshoots and all of this drama whenever it's a Marvel movie with either women or people of color. Like, we saw it happen with the Marvels. We saw it happen with Brave New World. Like it's always all of that gossip beforehand to kind of like sour people before they even before like the marketing for the movie really starts for real. Just it's a pattern. And so that's why especially even with all the reshoots talk, like I really try not to feed into it, because it has become a pattern for like whenever these films have like minority leads, it's always all this chatter of like, oh, well, it's under budget. Like think about Blade, right? And I'm not saying like by the time Blade comes out, I think that it's been so many people are going to be so sour on it because of all of the negativity. And don't get me wrong, I do not agree with, I don't know what they're doing.
No one does.
I'm not trying to defend nobody, but I do notice that that's a pattern, because when Marvel wants to keep things secret, they keep things secret. And when they want things to leak, things leak. And so, you gotta have an understanding of the game at this point. We're almost 20 years into the MCU, not 20, at least 15, 20. yeah, the patterns are there. So I would say go into it with the open mind and definitely see for yourself. I think it was a good film.
I'm gonna definitely try to check it out, even if I have to use illegal means. But we have another member of the team joining us today. Of course, our princess of all the Tru Heels, our tribal queen, has to make a grand entrance. It is Miss Krssi Luv. How are you doing?
I gave you. I noticed that I was gonna be a little late. Dag, I was only a couple minutes late. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. How's everybody? Happy Saturday. How's everybody doing? Good morning. Hi, Lyric. Nice to meet you.
You too.
I don't know why SPO's got to be embarrassing people in front of company. I was just selling something. Anywho, how's everybody doing?
I'm the little brother. I'm your little brother, so I have to do that type of stuff.
I guess. Anywho, I did not see the Winter Soldier yet, so yeah.
You didn't see Winter Soldier? It came out like 10 years ago.
I mean, not that one. You know what I mean? The story, the movie that you're talking about. See, you see what I'm saying? Damn.
She means Brave New World. Okay.
Thank you, Larry. See what I'm saying? I ain't see it yet. It's too many damn TV shows on TV that I can't keep up, and I gotta get to the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I saw in the comments that somebody said that they think Jon Cargill replaced Seth Rollins. He technically didn't. The original plan was for Jon Cargill to be in the film while Seth Rollins was in the film. It's just that the group that Seth Rollins was supposed to be a part of, that got cut out completely. Just to make that clear.
So his scenes was all cut out in the first place.
Yeah.
And
I don't even think he was a major character to start with.
Did he get his check? That's all that matters. If you got, just pay me.
Yeah, I think he got it.
He still got paid. He said it. He made it. He said he still got paid. So at least he got paid for something.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Exactly. Give me my money.
Hey, Marvel money cash the same way at the bank.
There you go. Listen.
Even if they cut your seed, it still tastes the same. It still feel the same.
Absolutely. All I know is green. Amen. Ugh.
Amen. We got one more super chat donation before we get into things. We got Vala B. Thank you so much, Vala B, for the support. He says back early from touching grass and ass. Okay, Vala B. With consent. Always with consent, kids. What's up? What's up, THH and Lyric? Always happy to see Lyric on any show. Yes, indeed. I had to ask her after that Revolution pay-per-view because I've been seeing you on social media talking about it, and we kind of are on the same page. We're on the same page. If you saw my comment that I put under yours yesterday.
I have a lot of thoughts.
I mean, we can deep dive into that first if you want to.
Yeah, we will. But of course, we're going to shout out everyone supporting us across social media and here on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel with our Tru Heel Roll Call, our top 3 conversation starters on our Tru Heels group page over on Facebook. You got the Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting, you got Mike Law, and you got Stewie Palmer. Our Patreon backers, you got Vala B, Alan Weinstein, Negro Buck Nick Jackson, Alex McCarthy, Professor Chris, Trey, Robert, Steve, John, aka Russell Scopes, Dan, Kobe, Dolores, John Martin, Marcus Ryan, James, Allen, and Santel. Thank you so much supporting us over at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. $3 a month gets you exclusive content, and that's the best place to support us when we are not live here. But let's get into what we miss. And yes, we will start with AEW Revolution 2025. We got a couple of people who are new members of the channel. I Make Beats a member for 7 months. We also got a comment here from LaRon Ford, who's been a member for 2 months. Everybody's loving seeing Lyric on the show, saying Lyric's in the building. Business is about to pick up. Lyric got the fans coming to support. I love this. But let's get into the aforementioned AEW Revolution last Sunday, AEW's first major show of 2025, and it was an all-timer, all things considering. You had the show featuring timeless Toni Storm defeating Mariah May in an absolutely amazing Hollywood ending match that was bloody, that was violent. It was a story of love. It was a story of hate. It was a story of emotions. And man, oh man, did the the ladies give us absolutely riveting cinema as Toni Storm retained the AEW Women's World Championship in the conclusion of this 18-month storyline, the greatest woman's story in AEW history, arguably the greatest story, period, in AEW history. You also had Will Ospreay defeated Kyle Fletcher in an incredible steel cage matchup that finally put his feud to bed with the Don Callis family. You also had Kenny Omega. He defeated Konosuke Takeshita to retain the AEW International Championship. That was another great matchup. All three of those first three matches that we're talking about here all received 5 stars from Uncle Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. So that tells you within itself that this was an all-timer show. I rated all these matches very highly myself, and of course got into an argument with Jimmy Macaram on our review about it. But we also had of course, you know, I wouldn't be giving good ratings if Jimmy wasn't upset with them. We also had Hangman Adam Page defeating MJF in an excellent opener to the pay-per-view. That matchup was definitely a good one to remember, one of those to go out of your way to watch as well. Meanwhile, you had Mercedes Moné retain the TBS championship over Momo Watanabe of Stardom. That was a hard-hitting affair itself, including Mercedes suffering a bruised larynx.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that kick to the throat. I knew she was in trouble after seeing that kick. I was like, she's just stiffed the hell out of her. Meanwhile, Kazuchika Okada defeated Brody King of the Hounds of Hell in a very good match to retain the AEW Continental Championship. Speaking of championship bouts on this show, you had the Hurt Syndicate. They pulled off the win over the Outrunners, kind of the outlier to the show, but they retained the AEW World Tag Team Championships in that match. Swerve Strickland became the new #1 contender for the AEW World title with Leslie Jones as his biggest fan, or if you're asking Nigel McGuinness, Prince Nana's mama was.
That's racist, but whatever.
Hey, that's what he said.
I'm just telling you what it sounds like, but whatever. Continue.
Swerve and Ricochet was another tremendous encounter on this pay-per-view. But then, Jon Moxley beat Cobb, the rated R superstar Cobb, and Christian Cage, who cashed in his AEW world title shot, his guaranteed shot in the middle of this matchup, as Jon Moxley was able to choke out Christian to retain the AEW World Championship in what might have been the most disappointing AEW pay-per-view main event in the company's history. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot because we had exploding barbed wire death matches at this same show a couple of years ago. But this might be even more disappointing because this is 100% the booking and the company's fault, not the, you can't blame it on the faulty explosion. Post-match, though, Prince Nana confronted Moxley, only for Swerve Strickland to deliver a swerve stomp onto a pile of security and Moxley to end the show. Lyric, we'll start with you. Your overall thoughts for AEW Revolution and the decision to headline with Moxley and Cobb.
Wow, this is a loaded question. I'm gonna be honest. Outside of the tag match and obviously the main event, this pay-per-view was perfect. I loved everything, and also too, I think I loved how just it made me feel. This was up there with me with New Beginning in Osaka, as far as like that feeling of just like, this is why I fell in love with wrestling. From the Hangman MJF opener, I felt like that was, there's AEW puts on great matches all the time, but I feel like it's a handful of matches that you can point to and be like, this is a defining match of what the company is. And that was it. When AEW started, Hangman was clearly on path to be the top baby face of the promotion, and MJF was always meant to be the top heel, And so 6 years later, that match is really a defining moment as the company's ability to create stars and how far each man has come. You know, there's only 3 men that AEW has ever really built into a world champion, and that's Hangman, MJF, and Swerve. And so I loved that. I love the subtle storytelling. I've been really hard on MJF, I would say, these last 2.5 years. I have hated most of what he's done, I'm going to be honest. But he's actually trying again. And you can tell. And when he's trying, when he actually puts in effort, you can see why people call him a generational talent. This is the best work he's done, I would say, in my opinion, since the Punk feud. As far as him really just being his best self. So I love that. And obviously Hangman Adam Page, seeing him climb up to the top, he's one of my favorite wrestlers ever. So and just little subtle things of him like finding himself again. Mercedes and Momo, fantastic. I love their first match that they had at New Japan Capital Collision, but this match was amazing. As somebody who's followed Momo Watanabe, I love seeing her get these opportunities internationally, just because I believe she's one of the best on Stardom's roster. And so hopefully, you know, she wins that red belt by the end of the year. She beat Mercedes ass. Like, my sister,
it wasn't one-sided. It was one-sided. I promise you it was.
My sister was getting cooked.
Yeah.
Did you see that big ass bruise on her face on Dynamite?
Yes, like her chin is black. Like it's,
that's why she kept going like this. Like she kept trying to like kind of like hide it a little bit, but
absolutely,
she kept going like, oh, Renee.
But I think especially we just like, you know, this week made officially 1 year since Big Business, and I think that so much credit needs to be given to Mercedes, because name another WrestleMania main eventer who would willingly put themselves in position to go against stiffer competition where they could possibly be upstaged. You know, like nobody's putting themselves in positions like that. Think about the people that she's faced, the absolute best of the best. Mayu Iwatani, Momo Watanabe, Hazuki. Like she has faced the absolute best, like the best of the best. She has not shied away from competition, and she has pushed herself to be able to wrestle on that level. And that's why she can call herself comfortably, you know, the GOAT, because she's challenged herself to do those things. So I would say props to her. That was amazing. Swerve Ricochet, fantastic. The storytelling, bro, with the Nana robe, tears in my eyes. They had like when I say like that, it was just, it's so beautiful, like to watch their relationship evolve. Ricochet is doing the best work of his career. He is the top heel in the promotion, to be quite honest. Like Ricochet,
that's been saying it. Yep.
Ricochet is the top heel in the promotion, and I think that Swerve and Ricochet, and even the match that follows when we go into not the match that followed, because that was Okada and Brody. But when you look at the Hurt Syndicate, there's some conversations that need to be had. But you know, we can get to the part of that later, but there's some conversations that need to be had. But I really enjoyed the presentation of that match. And then what was that next? Okada Brody. I think somebody said that this would have been a great Dynamite main event, like obviously, but we needed a cool down match. After the first 3, we needed a cool down match, but this was Okada got cooked. Like his chest was looking like ground beef. Brody King has had a great year.
I love Brody. Oh my God. They don't give Brody. Brody needs a belt. Stop playing with Brody, please.
And he started off this year in the Tokyo Dome. I think that's the thing. He outside of the Omega Gabe Kidd match, I would say like he had a fantastic match with David Finlay. You know, at the Tokyo Dome. He outperformed a couple people who was on that card, to be quite honest.
Brody can body slam me any time of the week, you know.
Well, yeah. He even shouted out Lady Gaga's album. I said, "Oh my king, do you listen to Mayhem too?" That was good. Hurt Syndicate versus Outrunners.
Yep.
Say it, girl. Say it. You want to?
I try to be really quiet when it comes to certain stuff, because like I know that a lot of y'all like them, but they should have never been pushed as a serious contender.
And not right now. They missed the boat. They were over 3 months ago.
And I think also too, I would have much rather, If you want to put a set of titles on them, put them ROH tag titles on them. Dustin Rhodes got 2 sets of belts. I just
for no reason.
Exactly. So that's how I feel.
And the other one, his other partner, we shall remain nameless. So whatever.
But I think that for me personally, as somebody who grew up loving Shelton Benjamin, to see him on a pay-per-view card, that was enough for me. Like, that was enough for me. Seeing the reaction that they got from the crowd, like, you know, even though it was a dud of a match, like, Hurt Syndicate are so over to the point where, you know what, it doesn't matter. They hurt people, you know. But that match was way too long. They should have never got that much offense in on Hurt Syndicate. But whatever. I think it is time for the Hurt Syndicate to add a new member. Not MJF, but somebody. You know, somebody.
You don't want Owen Hart in the nation?
We have criteria.
Say it, girl. If it ain't.
There's a certain criteria. I said this the other day. I said this is the only time where paper bag testing is appropriate. Only time.
Oh, damn.
Only
shit.
I mean, she's not wrong though. I mean, like, because when he did that, I was like, why would you want to pick him of all people?
I brought up the you know, remember the Last Dance when Isaiah Thomas said, I met the criteria, but I wasn't selected. I didn't meet the criteria. And so we need to keep the Hurt Syndicate. Anyway,
what was to come, and we'll be all right.
Exactly. After that, that was Tony Mariah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the best North American women's match on U.S. soil. I would say, and
facts.
That's all. That's as simple as it is. They were robbed, and I'm sure we'll go more deeper into it. So I don't want to go too deep into it right now. But I think for me personally, I'll be honest, I wasn't looking for a third match. Like I liked their first match and I liked their second match, but I didn't love it. And I felt like for a story that it held up the world title for 18 months, I needed it to mean something. Like, you know, like this was the magnum opus of the division, but they made it mean something. And I think like we don't even know the full impact. We won't know the full impact of this until much later. But they changed a lot of things. They changed a lot of perceptions. And hell, Dave gave a 5. Whoa, brother.
Dave Meltzer gave a 5-star match to a women's match in the United States. First one ever.
Dave is giving out what? This is like the third women's 5 that he gave. I don't know who broke his brain, but man, shout out to you. This was just iconic in every way. Toni Storm, I mean, she will go down as one of the defining wrestlers of our generation.
Yep.
Like regardless of gender. And I think what she was able to do, I was in the room the night that she debuted in AEW, and like what she has done and who she has turned herself into. And I think you can see the confidence, like she just transcendent. And she is the leader of this division now. And that division is stacked. And so to be able to comfortably say that is truly like, that means that you are heavyweight. And Mariah May, she's going to have a very interesting contract season. After that, we had my glorious goat, my goat of goats. They emptied out the pyro budget for my glorious goat, Kenny Omega, Konosuke Takeshita. Wow. I personally like this better than their first match. And the reason why I did was because it was a different match. I loved seeing Kenny come from underneath. Like I loved see him like, you know, be a step behind athletically. So he has to, you know, get scrappy. I think Takeshita looked like a monster. Like just looked like an absolute monster. And like the way he attacked his midsection and the clever usage of the table. And I think just seeing like, you know, it's just like the depletion. Like I love seeing like Kenny in those different scenarios than we're used to seeing him in. Ospreay versus Fletcher, they're freaking nuts. That was very crazy. But as somebody who's been following them since New Japan, Aussie Open, I'm wearing my Aussie Open t-shirt today actually, and United Empire, to see how far that they've come, that was just really emotional for me, and I love the match. I think that they've had one of the best trilogies that AEW's ever done, and that's saying a lot because there's been a lot of great, strong trilogies. I think that AEW has done. They have one of the best trilogies. Kyle Fletcher is world champion ready. At this point, like I don't, like he's ready, like for a big title. Then there's a minute.
You ain't really got to say nothing. Your face ain't at all.
I think what really hurts me is that Moxley and Cobb are they're my all-time top 5. Like, Edge was my favorite wrestler growing up. Mox is one of my favorite all-time wrestlers. So, like, to not be excited, it really hurt me. But I'm gonna be honest, this was the male ego at work, and they should be ashamed. To be quite honest, like, of just, especially when you see how it hurt the company, like, of just this, we would be talking about a candidate for the greatest pay-per-view of all time. Like, and I think it still is, but it has a big asterisk by it. And I think is that AEW, you already know that you have a PR war against you. You know that everybody's going to judge you more harshly. And so, like, to willingly give up points on the scoreboard that's just not, like, and, like, I think a lot of it is, it's on Toni too. But I think also too, like, to say that you love the company and to say that you're carrying the company, and to have seen the night that they had and to fail so miserably, it's a lot of introspective that need to be had. That was abysmal. It shouldn't have main evented, and some people are like, it wasn't that bad of a match. It wasn't that bad of a match. On a card where everybody is extraordinary, we should not give out points to former world champions, like world champion caliber wrestlers, veterans, for mediocrity. I think that the time for participation trophies is over. Like, and if you put so much pressure on women and said
speak, girl, speak. Oh my God.
So much pressure on women and said that, oh, well, we can't do this until we get this roster right, or we got to start having longer matches. We got to have real feuds. The women have done every single thing that you asked them to do, that you told them that they would need to do to get to that level. They have done everything. You beefed up the roster. You have a war chest of main event level players. You have the most transcendent women's storyline of our generation. And that's the fact. You did all of that. Toni, number 1 on PWI Women's 250. Mariah, most improved. Toni, Woman of the Year. You did all these different things. Everything was in place. You had the first 2 matches in foreign countries. Like, everything that you asked women to do, they did. And they still got slighted for mediocrity, for absolute mediocrity and an ego stick measuring contest. And I just don't think that that's conducive for AEW performing on the level that they need to
perform on.
Because I think, let's just be real, WWE's hotter than they ever been. You are a 6-year-old company. You have no choice but to be perfect. Like, you can't just, you have to. Like, you have to be extraordinary, and you are extraordinary. And the rest of your roster, if everybody else is stepping up, why would your world title, especially because I think that AEW built up their world title so high, put it on such a high pedestal. And so to see it fall so low and then try to gaslight people and be like, oh, you just shut up. You sound stupid. You sound stupid. We know what quality looks like. We done cried, fell out, seen world title matches. They done changed people's lives. We just had Swerve versus Danielson a couple months ago. And this is not comparable. This is not comparable. None of it. This isn't comparable for a TNT title feud, let alone a world title feud. We've seen TNT title feuds better than this. We've seen 24/7 title feuds better than this. Y'all sound stupid.
I saw somebody, I won't bury them and throw them under the bus, that was like, oh, I feel really bad because, you guys are picking on Cobb and Mox. They tried really hard. I like the main event. And I'm just like, This is all excuses. This is all excuses. These are 50 and 40-year-old men who have been in this business for 20 and 40 years, and we're giving them cop-outs, like you said. Like, the excuses is mind-boggling, and we can't accept it. We won't accept it. Like, when you have
participation awards sucks.
This type of show was the pitcher having the perfect game, and then he gives up a walk with 2 outs in the ninth inning.
Yes, that's perfect. Yes.
How you blow a 4-1 lead?
Yes, that's it.
Yes, 4-1 lead.
You let them win one game. Come on, guys.
Moxley and Cobb are not up and comers. We are talking about the first man to ever win the WWE, IWGP, and AEW World Championships and a WrestleMania main eventer. Like, we are talking about people who have reached the apex of this sport. We're not talking about, they're just trying. Like, y'all talking about them like y'all talking about Harley Cameron. And Harley Cameron is a little bit harder than this.
Yep.
Harley Cameron took the ball and ran.
Yep.
You know, like it's one of those things to where it's excuses, and I think it's actively hurting the company. Then the only saving grace is that, Big Swervo, I'm supposed to be moving back to the top of the mountain. I hope so, but who knows at this point of just who knows?
I walked out of that pay-per-view. I left that pay-per-view feeling like, I don't know if women are ever going to headline an AEW pay-per-view, and I had no type of feeling that Swerve is going to be the one that ends at this point, I literally said it on the Revolution review. I was like, I think Jon Moxley has Tony Khan's family hostage somewhere.
He has the Chris Jericho effect. I feel like he has like the Chris Jericho, like, I can do whatever the fuck I want to, and I'm gonna do it. You're not gonna tell me no.
And I'm not saying that Jon Mox is invaluable. I think Mox is so integral to the fabric of AEW. But if he is unable to be valuable to the company without a title, there are conversations that need to be had. And I think that goes for a lot of guys. If Chris Jericho is adding more value to the current product than you in 2025, there are conversations that need to be had.
And that's a lot. That's a lot saying that.
Yes, it is a lot, but it's not false.
They've gotten
right, that's what I'm saying.
Formula right. Like, like they have gotten the Jericho formula down. It's actively even elevating people, like, think about how much we've seen Big Bill and Brian Keith lately.
Yes.
They have gotten the Jericho formula down. Like, at this point, just about everything is good except for the world title picture.
And that's why I said it was an all-timer tone-deaf decision, because so many people were on social media, and we know Tony Khan is on social media almost too much for someone in his stature, someone of his status. He's too much online for him to say that, I didn't know that the people weren't into this. I didn't know that this was a bad decision. You knew this was a bad decision. Absolutely. And you probably had people backstage. I know for a fact someone that works backstage at AEW who's not feeling this Moxley stuff.
I know several. Yeah.
So it's not just us as fans watching. It is people backstage telling you, and you went and you did this whole big freaking parade before the pay-per-view, like, guys, everything's good on television because I'm in the weeds, I'm making the decisions, it's all me. So that is why the LVP of AEW Revolution was Tony Khan, because he had one decision to make, and he literally had so many other options. Like, we're emphasizing that, Tony and Mariah was the A choice, but the B choice, steel cage matchup, there was nothing that was going to follow that to a lot of people. You could have ended it that way. You could have ended it with Kenny Omega winning his first singles title in how many years? That would have been prevalent.
You could have ended it with Swerve Ricochet.
I was like, Swerve Ricochet, that could have ended it. Like, there were so many other options on this card, and he decided to pick the one decision that everybody was saying, this is the wrong decision, don't make this the main event, and he did it anyway. That is tone deaf. For a guy that has always been credited, his biggest thing as being a booker is that he has the finger on the pulse of what the fans want. He had his finger up his asshole on Sunday night.
He knew. He didn't even talk about it, bro. This is how I know, like, Tony is so easy to see. He didn't even tweet about it. You know, typically he say, chance of this is awesome coming from the arena right now for AEW Revolution. He said that for all the other matches. When that Mox Cobb thing happened, look around, everybody on mute.
He literally said it in the freaking presser. The presser. He says the quote was, "Oh, if hindsight's always 20/20, but I thought that the fans would love and go nuts for Swerve ending the show on top. You were wrong. You thought wrong. That's what it came down to.
The fans
is 20/20, but everybody saw this was the wrong decision, and you did it anyway.
Absolutely. Like, I think that, like, bro, like Tony, you come from the message boards. That's how I know you knew what the chatter was. And so, like, at the end of the day, it all came down to politics. But also at the end of the day, this is how I see it. Yes, people bought Revolution in spite of the world title picture, not because of it. But at the end of the day, you have 10,000 tickets sold for All In at this point. And you need at least, what I would say, 25 to 30,000 for it to be considered a success. We are now, 4 months out? Yeah. If you genuinely think that this is what's going to put butts in seats, you're crazy. And I know so many people who are like, I haven't bought my All-In ticket yet, or I haven't booked my flight yet, because honestly, if Mox is world champion, I'm not trying to see that close the show. And for people who are wrestling fans, you can probably say you're talking to people and you're hearing people like that. I know so many people who are saying that right now, just like nah, because you set the bar so high last year. You set the bar so high with Swerve Danielson. The people want to go home happy. We ain't even seen Darby in a couple months. And so if that's the plan, like, at this point, you have to be in that mindset of, do you want butts and seats? Do you actually want people to come to your show? And I think if you think that loading up the card with the Omegas, Okadas, and the Mercedes Athenas, and maybe and all these different matches to offset it, do you know how unfair that is to your other top talent who are putting in the work, who put in butts and seats, and then said, we're just going to give the main event to something that nobody asked for? Like, that's how you lose your talent during contract season. That's how you lose overall. And so I think right now, and I think we started to see those building blocks towards All In, in little bits and pieces in Revolution, then on the Dynamite afterwards. And so if you genuinely think that that's going to put butts in seats when you need at least 20,000 more people to buy tickets, good luck, Charlie.
Josh, what was your kind of overall thoughts on AEW Revolution and the decision to put Mox and Cobb in the main event?
I mean, overall, I thought it was a great pay-per-view. Them going the main event, I mean, I was saying it for the last, 2-3 weeks. I was like, Tony and Mariah has the main event, and I was very open about it, and then you had those people who are just, already being, telling me like, oh, but we already know that Copeland and Mox is going to main event, right? Which wasn't my point. I was just like, Mariah and Tony needs to main event because we had it was an 18-month storyline, right? Going on 18-month storyline. They had their match at Grand Slam. That was just more, that was just more of the route to go, in my opinion, because even so, right? There were multiple options, right? Ospreay, Fletcher, Omega, Konosuke. So there was multiple options, but I still would have preferred the women to main event, just because, again, that was more of a compelling storyline going in my opinion. And also, I mean, you need, for the title, the way that it was for a while, because Mariah was champion, it was kind of in a limbo, waiting for Tony to come back. Tony becomes champion, so you needed to make that title mean something too.
Yep.
At least for a main event. But besides that, I mean, I enjoyed it. There's a lot of great matches on the show. As far as people trying to defend the main event, I mean, I don't know what you're really defending. I don't know. I just don't know what you're really defending. And I think it's more of the fan thing of well, Copeland is my guy. I was an Edge fan. I was a Mox, I was a Dean Ambrose fan. I think it's more of that than just acknowledging the match wasn't great. The match was slow. Like the match was slow. Very slow. And then
nearly 30 minutes. It's over
the Christian Cage thing didn't make it better.
long.
Yeah, and then the Christian Cage thing didn't make it better. Especially him losing the way that the fashion that he lost, I think just kind of made it even worse in my opinion. But the fact that people are saying like that they tried, and I'm like, yo, these guys are fucking veterans. We shouldn't be saying that they tried.
Yep.
Like they're not 3-year rookies who are in. This is not Nick Wayne wrestling in the main event. That same thing. He tried, guys. No. Like these guys should have just known better, and that's all I'm saying. Like, especially with Copeland, like what's kind of crazy with Copeland, like he's in this stage where it's like I like him and I respect all he's done, but it's like I don't even know if he's not really helping in the perception of the company, and it sucks. It sucks to say that because I'm just like I thought he would be a guy that could help. I think he's doing the opposite of that at this point. Because when he was a TNT champion, I thought he was helping that more, but then he broke his fucking leg because he wanted to jump off like an idiot. And then
listen.
I mean, it was a stupid move. If you get up there, if you get on top of the cage and you admit yourself you didn't know what to do, you're stupid for that. I'm sorry. You're stupid for that.
And doing it for a Malachi Black match. In the
the guy's not even in the company anymore. The guy's not even in the company anymore. And then the fact that you jump off, landed on your feet, knowing that I'm like, that's not how you break your fall. You landed on your damn feet. That's how you broke your leg.
3 3/4. Wow.
And it's one of those things where, I think the way that I felt, I wasn't as harsh as other people were, like, SP3 went on his rant in the review. I wasn't as harsh because it was one of those things when I sat down, it was more like the way I took it. It was just like, the Shannon Sharp meme when he's like this, like that's how I felt. That's how I felt.
No, I was harsh because it's like.
Yeah, I know why you were harsh, and it was
because we came up with 100 ways to do the match. If you're gonna make that tone deaf choice, there was 100 different ways to do it. Have Josh Alexander debut as the newest member of the Death Riders. No, it's not the best option, but it's someone new. It's a new development in the Death Rider story. That would have been fine. Jay White turning heel on Cope. That would have been something interesting to get Jay White on a better path than what he is right now. I like him as a babyface, but him being Cope's sidekick is not doing shit for him. But literally, they booked it in a way that made everybody involved look bad. Cope and Mox put on a slow, plotting freaking main event matchup. They look bad. Christian Cage looks like an idiot for cashing in when he did and losing. He looks bad. Jay White fucks up and hits Cope in the head, and then he's like, "Oh God, I gotta go brawl with Wheeler Yuta to the back." Wheeler Yuta, they did the whole thing on Wednesday with him. Oh, this is what respect feels like. Oh, he might be away from the Death Riders, only for him to make the most obvious decision that fooled nobody, to surprise nobody. He looks stupid out of this. Everybody involved. The referee not ringing the bell when Christian hits Cope in the head with the contract. He looks like an idiot. Literally, everybody in this shit. Even Jim Ross had to be like, "Hey guys, you should remember this is for the world title." Because the crowd sure didn't remember. They were not. They sang Edge's song and then they were completely.
They were asleep the rest of the day. Was tired because the other matches took everything out of them.
No,
it was too long.
They checked out.
I actually want to push back on that because one thing I've learned about like a good AEW pay-per-view, like a great AEW pay-per-view, is that it doesn't matter what came before it. If a match is good, people gonna get up. Like people are gonna get up. It just wasn't good. And you know what's a great example? Dynasty. Dynasty was a great example. It was an amazing card. And when we got to the main event, for Swerve versus Joe, the people were still up for Swerve because they wanted to see him crowned so bad. Like they still were going hard for Swerve. Even Revolution, that last 3 matches of Revolution, Ospreay, Takeshita, the world title 3-way, Hangman, Swerve, Samoa Joe, and then Sting and the Young Bucks. amazing card from top to bottom, and the people were still up. The shit was trash, and we should say
it. And Forbidden Door, Swerve and Ospreay. That was it for that too.
On the card, Omega and Takeshita followed that amazing Hollywood ending, and you know what they did? They started slow, they escalated, and they built to have a fantastic match themselves. There's literally an example.
Cobb just went slow. They just went slow.
They just went slow the whole time. It was just really bad.
Willow and Stat followed Ospreay and Pac at All Out and ended up outdoing them in a lot of ways. Like it's just constantly. We done with excuses, and I think of just if everybody, because everybody else is so good. And I think after Revolution, we emerged with at least 3. I think, especially if you count the Dynamite afterwards, there are at least 3 men who are ready for the world title right now. Like you could strap them up tomorrow, and they are ready. You have at least 3 top baby faces. You know, of just what are we waiting for? Like what are we waiting for? Who is this supposedly helping? Who is this supposedly elevating? It's one thing if you don't have stars ready. I think New Japan was in that position, I think last year. Who do you have to put the title on? AEW has the opposite problem, like the complete opposite problem. They have so many options. There's no reason for Jon Moxley to be world champion right now. And, to have held that belt 4 times. Toni Storm is a 4-time champion, but is she adding value? Yes. If you are adding value, I can see it. I can understand that. I still don't think she should hold the title long because she's held it. She's had it 4 times, but she's adding value. She's adding value to that title. There is no real value being added, and this is coming from a Mox fan, like a real Mox fan. There's no value being added.
I think SP said it like a few weeks ago. We would have never thought that we would be talking this bad about Jon Moxley.
Never.
They're actively ruining his legacy with this.
He had the hot girl summer. He left the company. He made these changes. He was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do things like I used to do when I was over there when I was in Shackles." Bruh, it looked like you bringing Shackles back on yourself now. Like it's so bad. Like you could have never. This is not on the bingo card that we thought this would have never been on it, especially for these 2 guys. Terrible. They need to really sit down and reflect and yo, we really fucked up something that was really, really good. We could have went 3rd. We could have opened the show. We could have done so many things, but we didn't want to do that because our egos are so fucking big. And I think even more, Cope pushed for this. I think it's more Cope than Mox. I really feel like that's how it is. My opinion. I really feel like it was more Cope that wanted to say, we should main event. No, our show, bro, you ain't been good since you came back with that broken leg. I'm sorry.
It's time for Cope to grab that tag rope.
Yes.
It's time for him because I think
and even the name change. The name change ain't helping either.
I understand why he did the name change. I think it's because his TV career right now is very much Adam Copeland, so trying to keep the separation. Hey, he nominated for a daytime Emmy. I get it. But at the same time, I think the only card he has left to play that I think fans actively want to see is him and Christian reuniting as a team. And if they're not careful, you're going to miss the window on that too, to where people don't care about either.
I think they already missed it, to be honest. I think it's surpassed.
I don't think so quite yet. I think that especially if you pull him out of the this world title picture now and you give it a real build, because I think even Christian changed course on Dynamite, and it's really interesting stuff happening with Nick Wayne. I think we're still where some of this stuff is salvageable, but it doesn't need the world title. There's just all of these people are salvageable. They just don't need to be in the world title picture. They just don't. They just don't.
I've been saying that. Yeah.
Because they could build good stories without a title. They
Absolutely.
can have meaningful matches without any titles. And that will solidify they didn't even have a title and they still are cooking. They're still giving great matches and still giving us good things to talk about. You guys are already legends at it already. You don't. No. Yes, you want to do it in this company? Sure. Yes, whatever. But I don't think you even really need to. I think you need to help elevate this company and bring it to new heights.
Absolutely.
That's what your job should be.
And I think that even too, when you think about Mox, if we want to be honest, not just one title is being held hostage, two are, because now the trios championships are being held hostage, and there are actually good trios now. Like, there are actually good trios. If it was me, I'd build up the Ops tomorrow, or Undisputed Kingdom. Like, there are actual good trios now, and everybody, I think that's what's the most frustrating part. Everybody else is doing such great work, you know? Just about everything else is perfect. But at the end of the day, AEW built up their world title as a centerpiece so high that if that is weak, then everything else feels weak too in comparison, even though there are several people on the roster doing some of the best work of their career, some of the best work in the industry, period, on both the male and female side. But all of that is being overshadowed because of ego.
And I said it on the review. I was like, this Death Rider storyline is an albatross on what is a fantastic product right now.
Absolutely.
It's weighing it down slowly. It's like an anchor. It's bringing it down from where it should be. And like you said earlier, I think they need to strive for excellence. When you're number 2, you cannot be anything less than excellent, or you're going to fall even further. But we got Vala B with a super chat donation here. Thank you so much, Vala B, for the support. He says the Hollywood ending should have been the main event. Women will main event eventually, but it looks like the talent will have to fight Toni for it instead of assuming it's a given. So I wanted to ask you, Krssi Luv, do you have that belief that, like Vala B says, he says women will main event eventually? Do you think women will main event in AEW in the next couple of years? Because we got to be honest. People
it's not happening this year.
Talk about AEW, they always want to compare it to WWE. It took WWE 50 years for women to actually main event pay-per-views. So we can't wait that long with AEW. So in the next couple of years, do you see AEW having women headline a pay-per-view, and what should that match be, Krssi?
Oh wow. Okay. Yes, I do see it happening. What match? I mean, damn. I hope these ladies will still be there. Like, it's like you never know what the revolving door that these wrestlers have. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't spring chickens like we used to be. You understand what I'm saying? So these ladies got, like, if they don't have babies, or they have like certain things, or they at a certain time, their clocks are ticking. So I can't even like really like speak on like what ladies would main event. As far as like I would even say maybe like 3 years. Maybe let's give it 3 to 5. That's like a sentence. 3 to 5 years, like jail.
That's way too long in my opinion.
That's way too long.
I'm just saying. But okay, you think it's gonna happen in 2 years? You said in a couple of years. What's a couple?
I will say, I think the only person who can change this is who Lyric said earlier. The woman who is the best politician in women's wrestling out there. Why she's the best? She made Gato give her over 12 minutes in the Tokyo Dome.
Yay.
I think that Mercedes Moné versus Timeless Toni Storm is the match to do, and it needs to happen. They've
been keeping those two away from each other.
It needs to happen this year. It needs to happen this year because the story writes itself. Mercedes is collecting belts. She's about to become the longest reigning TBS champion of all time later this year. And she can say, I got one more belt to collect. And that's the AEW Women's World Championship. You do Toni and Mercedes, the two biggest women's stars in the company. That is the main event to do, and it needs to happen this year because Revolution will always be looked upon as an opportunity for Tony Khan to change the narrative. The narrative with AEW has always been they don't value women's wrestling as much as every other promotion. They don't see women's wrestling on the level that we all see it as fans, and that comes directly from Tony Khan because obviously you had a perfect story to headline your show, and you made the choice to not have it headline the show, and instead went with the feud that the least amount of people were interested in. You made a tone-deaf decision that really could have changed a lot of discussions about AEW if you put Toni and Mariah in this main event. So there's only one other match that I could see happening, and it's not because of the story, it's because of the level of the stars, is Timeless Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné. What do y'all think? Lyric, Josh?
I have Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think that I do agree that it needs to happen this year. I think that and whether people want to acknowledge it or not, and I think that's also, I've been really pushy lately about women's wrestling. It's because like we are 10 years. This year made 10 years since Give Divas a Chance. This year we are a decade removed from that original women's revolution. And I feel like in so many ways we've come so far, but we've also gone backwards. Like we've gone backwards in a lot of ways. And I mean this for both companies. And I think that whenever they do give you a bone, and this goes for WWE as well. Like, I don't feel like WWE values women's wrestling like that. They just give you a bone where they can't. Like, for example, think about when Rhea main evented that pay-per-view. It's a pay-per-view on tape delay. And it also has it's at 5 a.m. It has 5 matches on the card. It's almost the exact setup to Grand Slam Australia, right? Like you get this, and there's always the main event. Like there's an asterisk next to it, of like when like these opportunities are made available for women. And when you look back, think about like we're getting further and further away from those WrestleMania main event stuff, that 3-way and then the Bianca versus Sasha. We're getting further and further away from that. And then, like, even look towards this year, will we see women main event night 1? Due to politics, it's not, it probably won't happen. And I think we're at a crucial point of women's wrestling to where the talent pool has gotten so good and everybody is so good on every single level and everybody's main event worthy right now. But these companies are just not really investing, I would say, the way that they should. And I think part of they don't want to make the male stars unhappy. Like, and that's really.
But why would they be mad to like let the women?
They are egomaniacs. They are egomaniacs. They are marks. These top guys are marks. They are egomaniacs.
True.
Like, it is a carny business. This is a carny business. They don't care. Man, woman, child, dog, cat. It don't matter. Real politicians. Y'all, hello? Like this year, real politicians. These are real politicians. And I think women's wrestling is suffering, and it's the best that it's ever been. And I even think that when people talk about, Mercedes the only one with enough political power to do it, I think we overestimate how much political power Mercedes has. Mercedes gets 90-second segments on Dynamite every week. Pre-tapes, okay? Like,
right, pre-tape, not even like that.
Mercedes still has not opened an AEW pay-per-view. Yes, she gets longer matches than everybody else, and think about it. The match that was most deserving of a pay-per-view main event before we ever got to Toni Mariah was Mercedes' debut at Double or Nothing versus Willow Nightingale. There's always going to be an excuse. They said, what if Mox and Cobb do a post-match angle? Or Anarchy in the Arena is going to be too crazy. That's why the women can't main event. It's always going to be one thing. And I know like there's this conversation of like, which match can main event? And it should be Mercedes versus Toni. I understand that. But I don't think that that's the answer, because once you run it, then what? Like, for me, the goal is not to have a first women's pay-per-view main event. The goal is to make this a regular habit for the entire roster. If Mercedes and Toni are the only people who are ever going to be worthy to like do this, this doesn't elevate women's wrestling at all. Like, and I think that's what we ran into at WWE. Like, you have these people of like, you have like Sasha and Bianca, like we first Black women to main event WrestleMania. You'll have Becky, Becky, Ronda,
and Charlotte.
We're the first women to main event WrestleMania. When have they then done it again?
Those 2 times, and the one was the pandemic.
Yes, we've gotten past that women's revolution.
It wasn't even a full arena.
And to be quite honest, if we really want to be honest, in today's political climate, wrestling is becoming more conservative, like really more conservative of when are women going to get these opportunities. And it sucks because every other sport, women's wrestling is women's sports are booming. Like they are higher and better than they've ever been. And wrestling has not followed suit. And so I don't even like, I get it. I do think that if there is going to be a main event anytime soon with the current booking, is going to be Mercedes Toni. But I don't think that should be anything that shouldn't be anything that people are satisfied with, because the goal is not for them to be the first and last. And also, too, I think they always do it. And even I've seen people say of like, oh, it has to be a weak card when the men's world title isn't on the line, or it's like a 4-way for the men's world title or something like that, and then they can main event a weak card. Like, no, this Revolution proved that they can main event. They can have a 5-star match on a card with Osprey and Omega and Hangman, all these stars up. Let them do what they do.
And they were the 4th match, right, on the card? I think it was.
No, 6.
It was 6. Yeah, 6. Let them do what they do. Because you have assembled this world-class roster of the Mercedes and Tonys and the Megan and the Willow and Chris and all these people. They are world-class talent. Athena as well. Like, they 100% can't function on that level. I'm tired of all this asterisk. And people even said that about Grand Slam Australia, of just, they main evented that. They main evented a tape-delayed show that aired at Saturday television. No, like, I think these women can hang. They can hang with anybody. You know, Mercedes is main evented, 4 New Japan shows? New Japan didn't have women's wrestling 3 years ago. They didn't even have women's wrestling 3 years ago. We know it's possible. And I think we need to stop accepting excuses. And I think that any match, I think Mercedes Willow is main event worthy. I think Mercedes Athena is main event worthy. I think that Mercedes Toni is main event worthy. I think that Willow Chris, whenever they come back to it eventually for a
Willow and Athena.
Willow Athena. After the trilogy they had in, Ring of Honor. Like, we got to stop pretending that this collection of talent isn't world class. They can do it. Like, they've shown you that they can do it. It's not up for question. It's just up to AEW at this point. Especially Dave Meltzer gave a 5-star match. I'm like, hello. We were convinced Dave didn't even like women. I'm still not.
I don't think he. Whatever.
I'm still not 100% convinced.
I'm not convinced.
But Dave.
But like Tony Khan is acting like he's Smithers at the strip club. Like, he's like, if he sees women, he's like, oh my god. He's like, I can't. I'm overwhelmed.
Mercedes needs to go into his office like tomorrow. We need to have a conversation.
And I think saying that, like, women, and I think even saying like they're not pushing for it. Clearly, these women are pushing for it. I think even too they're still getting 1 match a show, and think about how much they've done with so little. The highest rated women's match of last year, tied for it, Willow versus Chris. You had, Toni versus Mariah, first women's 5-star in North America. Toni, number 1 on PWI 500. 4 out of 10 matches on Sports Illustrated's women's match of the year came from AEW, and the number 1 was from an AEW wrestler. They're doing this with crumbs. They're doing this with crumbs, and they're still functioning on an S-tier level. Imagine if you invested.
Yeah.
I think that women have been the biggest beneficiary of the Forbidden Door as well.
Yeah.
But like, I totally agree, because like Willow Nightingale, she should be like a top star. She should be on the level of the Toni Storms, the Mercedes Moné, or even the Jon Moxleys, the Swerve Stricklands. Like, she's so talented. She should be on that level and treated on that level. And you got a lot of Willow fans that are like, I don't know if I'll ever see her kind of reach the summit in AEW because of how they present the women, how they treat the women, how they book the women. So I agree with you with that it's not about like what's going to be the first one. It's what's going to be the one that continues the trend. And like I said, I think that Toni and Mercedes can do that. Like, if you can certify who's the number 1 between those two, then you can have someone like a Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander be the one to beat them. And then they can be the one that's going to main event future shows. And I agree, Willow versus Stat after the match they had at All Out for a world title, that should be a main event as well.
I was also going to say Willow and Stat carried. They are the backbone of that division. Of
how about yes.
If you look at the top matches from last year, it's either every combination of either Willow
or
Stat, or like the three of them, and they have not gotten a world title yet. I think that's why I was so frustrated when like the Tony Mariah didn't main event, because you held up everybody in this division for this feud. You held up everybody being crowned, and you still won't go all in on them. So like imagine your homegrown stars. Like I think that you've built from scratch, like Willow and Stat, who have consistently been like just extraordinary. Willow has now collected titles from every wrestling region, essentially. We are at a point where it's criminal to not have that as your top babyface in promotion. And like Chris Statlander is doing stuff that I've never seen before.
Yeah, she's the best female. I think it's between her and Io Sky for the best female wrestler in the world today. Like, that's how good Chris Statlander is. And all in the game, if you miss what Lyric was saying, he said, my girl Willow keeps getting done dirty. How'd she do in WWE? About the same, because Triple H sucks at booking women too. Like, what are we talking about? And just because Shawn Michaels is fairly decent at booking women, because he has the best women's roster in professional wrestling today, he has no other choice but to book the women because his men suck. Like, that's the reason why Shawn Michaels Triple H is right.
I think another thing about Willow is that, how do I say it? Willow and Bianca kind of they occupy the same space as baby faces. And I don't know, I'm gonna be real, like Triple H is incapable of pushing like one black woman to the top at one time. Like, of just, there has to be like, even if it's three of them, two got to be supporting players while one goes to the front if they're going to be like legitimate single stars. And I also think that with Willow being a powerhouse, they're going to try to book her into a corner and not let her be who she
authentic self.
Like she's either going to be super pushover. She's either they're going to book her as either Piper Niven or Nia Jax, and she's neither.
No. Don't say that, please. I don't want her to be Piper Niven, the supporting actress of the crew.
No, she can't go over there. I'm gonna be honest. That'll be the day I fall to my knees. I might delete my account. I'll be honest. I'll be honest. She can't go.
Can't go there. We got Chuck Berries who says, I wonder if Jim Ross would have advocated for Storm versus May to main event Revolution. Would Tony Khan have reconsidered his choice knowing that JR's influence in Queen of the Ring, JR that is? No, because JR realized how big Tony and Mariah. When has JR came out to announce commenting a 6-match on the card? He usually is out there for the last 2 matches.
The last one, yep.
For the last 2 matches of the show, or a Bryan Danielson match. Those are the only exceptions for him not doing the last 2 matches. He came out for that match because he knew how big that was. And just him saying Tony was whipping her like a scalded dog elevated that match for me. Because I was like, we get the Attitude Era JR commentating this. This is awesome. That helped it, but like JR, even with JR's influence, I don't think it's enough at this point. I'm very frustrated with Tony Khan after that decision to not have.
I'm positive a couple people told him. I am almost positive. Several
a lot
people,
of people, yeah.
They went viral on Baddie's Tea.
Yeah,
they went viral on Baddie Tea. The Zoo Baddie shot a clock. They went viral.
We got another super chat donation from LaRon Ford. Thank you, good brother. He sent us a couple here that we'll go through. He says, Lyric is absolutely cooking right now. Everything was in place for the woman to main event, and Tony was like, nah, we'll maintain the status quo. And it's just like, why? Why? When you have a chance to flip the script, flip a narrative about your company that's gonna put it in the positive, it's very mind-boggling why he didn't make that decision.
Are you scared of them or something? You scared of them? Like, you a billionaire? You scared of them? The thing is, Mox is
you're the boss. Like, stop acting like you're not in charge.
And I think at this point too, of like, Mox is not going back to WWE. You don't have to worry about that. He's not. He might just quit wrestling, like altogether. And if he goes anywhere else, it's probably going to be New Japan. He's not going to leave. Like, he's not going to jump ship. And at this point, what is he going to do? The only thing they're going to have him do is shield lore. That's it. That's it. And we've already seen they're not interested.
They're not interested in that. Yep.
They're not interested. At the end of the day, you scared of these people? You scared of? You got a couple $1 billion. You scared of them?
You're supposed to be Joe Clark from the high school principal, man. You're supposed to be getting people's asses.
And this is why I say you need more women on staff. You need, particularly Black women, who just say no. The answer is the door is closed.
It's closed. Yep.
You can't.
And I think that's what's missing from both companies, to be honest.
Correct. Wake that up. Wake that up and just say that no is a full sentence. No.
Both companies are missing this and us. All together, both companies.
LaRon also says, how does Tony not think that the ending of the Tony Mariah match was not a better way to close the show than Swerve doing a stomp to Moxley? That, like, he said hindsight is always 20/20, but I thought that the start of that sentence alone tells you that he knows he was wrong.
He knows, and honestly, he sent Swerve out there as an apology.
Well, you send the black guy out there. Why you send us? Why you send him?
It was an apology because, like, it sucks, and that's why you send Swerve out there as the cleanup man. Like, Swerve is supposed to be the cleanup man, and all of your shit. Think about the stars that have been sacrificed over these last couple months of this entire thing. I think even like the 4-way that they ended up doing at Revolution, like you use Hangman to get everybody else over, and it still hasn't worked. It still hasn't worked. Thank God, he's just Teflon at this point, so it's not going to hurt him. But you're pushing, you throw out the guys, the Hangmans, the Swerves, the Ospreys. Think about it. Kenny Omega Dynamite is built around him now because the world title can't carry it. That's why you have this tournament, everything of you have the real top guys are carrying everything while the world title continuously pulls everything down.
Yeah, and that's why on this week's show they gave him a minute total between the Moxley promo and the backstage with Cobb and Swerve, and then tried to move on very quickly after announcing the street fight. They know what's going on here.
They're saying back to the tournament, the Kenny Omega tournament, because that's where we are. They know. I think that's the most frustrating part. It'd be one thing if they don't know. It'd be one thing if they're toned up. They know. They 100% know. That's why we've seen Dynamite structured. Think about in these last couple weeks, the Death Riders got minimized on Dynamite, and we'll see more of the Hangman MJF feud. That's why Hangman MJF opened every single Dynamite. We were closing with Swerve, we were closing with Kenny Omega and Takeshita. They know
what's going on. LaRon, thank you so much. You have killed it with sending us so many super chat donations today. He says TK math, long-term story plus world title plus blood feud plus women's history month plus Queen of the Ring tie-in plus mainstream media attention equals no main event. That's a lot. That's a lot that you had in your face, and you just said, you know what? I'm going to go for the one that the fans aren't interested in. Let me go with that. That's strange. That's a strange decision. LaRon also says another super chat donation here. He says, in 2024, 16 women contracted to AEW appeared on pay-per-view. Only 6 appeared on more than 2 pay-per-views. How do we get more women on these pay-per-view cards going forward? I saw somebody ask, should they unify the TBS and AEW Women's World titles? No. That's how we're getting at least 2 women's matches on these shows. I mean, I said before Revolution, the tag team matchup that they had with Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander, that should have probably been on 0 Hour instead of having 4 men's matches on the 0 Hour and half of it is Ring of Honor. They should have
Blake Christian. My eyes started twitching when I saw that graphic. Y'all are sick. You're sick. Blake Christian's on there, and Willow Nightingale's at home. Chris Statlander at the crib, but we got Blake Christian.
That's insane. What you think?
The 0 hour was like definitely like not even eventful. You could have that's why it was a 0 hour. No one really
Except
gave
for
a
we
fuck
bring
about
the boom.
Hey, that got a woman involved. I got Talia and Harley a payday, so I'll give the
top
of 0 hour. Ain't that crazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bigger than Samojo.
She did. We got another super chat donation here from Call Me Mr. Bonda. Thank you so much, Mr. Bonda, for the support. He says, I still want that Athena versus Mayu Iwatani match.
Me too.
Drool emoji. Yes.
That's my dream. I honestly wanted that match at the Tokyo Dome. I wanted that to be Mayu's IWGP Women's Championship opponent. But yeah, I want that match. That's one of my dreams.
I want that too. We got another super chat donation from LaRon Ford. He says it's criminal that the women in AEW are still relegated to one match a show in 2025. With this women's roster, it's absolutely insane. I want them to go back to where they were like last summer. Last summer, they had like a streak of like multiple Dynamites that had one squash match for a woman that was elevating somebody, and then a actual women's match. When we were in that vibe, I think they went like 5.
And we had to complain for that though.
Huh?
We had to complain, and that's when they gave us that. That's that. You know what I'm saying? We had to say we had to make ruckus and cause havoc, and they was all right. We'll give you two. We'll give you two.
I think you gotta try AEW. I think especially as a much more male heavy audience, you have to train your audience to care about women's wrestling. Like you have to the same way you shoving this Death Rider shit down our throat. You gotta shove women's wrestling down their throat and be like no matter what, like we are investing in this. Like this is important, and you will you will invest in this. And I think like we saw it kind of it going back to Full Gear. Like people were like Mercedes and Chris, and like people were like, oh, okay, whatever. And then when they saw like this match is getting time, everybody sat down and said like, oh wow, like this is great. So by the time we got to World's End, the people were set. Everybody was set in the crowd. They knew that, no, this is going to be one of the marquee matches on the card. This is going to go long. This is going to be important. We need to be seated. It is like, you have to train your audience to care. Like it's just as much on AEW as it is on the audience. And I think especially in this culture and today's political climate and like all of these different things, you have to make that hard line in the stand. And I'm going to be honest, the same way that you've made that, I'll be real, same way that you've made that hard line in the sand when it comes to Black talent, you need to do the same thing with women. And I think that AEW has drawn that line in the sand and said, hey, over here, we invest in Black talent. Like we are investing in Black talent up and down the card, tag division, singles division, the men's world title, the women's titles. We are investing in Black talent. It has to happen with women as well. And you have to draw that hard line in the sand and say, we don't care what they're saying on the internet, what they're saying in the comments. We don't care what the grifters are saying. Women are important here, and you will accept it. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, 100% right there. We got one more question involving Revolution, but we do have a couple of news notes from the show. They did do big business, if you will, for the last pay-per-view. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, AEW Revolution had the company's biggest pay-per-view numbers since All In. First week estimates are between 135,000 to 140,000 buys. Meanwhile, the show had an attendance of 11,435 with over 10,000 paid. The gate was reportedly close to 1 million, so big news in regards to that. And coming out of Revolution, there was a couple of people who were banged up, which explains what we got on Wednesday with Dynamite following during last Sunday night's pay-per-view. During the media scrum, it was Swerve Strickland who revealed that he suffered a busted eardrum during his match with Ricochet. Meanwhile, after being carried to the back after her match with Mercedes Moné, Momo Watanabe was later seen on crutches. It's believed she hurt her ankle after a bad landing, but she still wrestled back in Stardom because she's a beast. Mercedes Moné also suffered a bruised larynx after the kick to the throat from Momo Watanabe during her matchup. Meanwhile, Will Ospreay was also seen limping after his match with Kyle Fletcher after that crazy Spanish fly off the top of the steel cage where he landed directly on his hip. But there's no word on if he's actually injured or not, I think Will Ospreay, he's impervious to pain. He just keeps going and just gets his missus mad at him. That promo on Dynamite was so relatable. I was like, I'd get in trouble with my missus too.
He tell us his business. He tell us his business unprovoked so bad. Oh,
But don't you love
he
it,
be talking like we one of his little friends.
Someone said he's
like
like,
you're a part of the family.
he's like Roddy Piper in WCW. How Piper used to talk about his kids and his family all the time. It's like it's story time with Will Ospreay.
I think it's always him like, hey y'all, calm down, Coco. Shh. You're gonna love this part. I've got it for you. You're gonna love this, you know. But I think that's what endears him to everybody. He comes across so genuine. You could tell he coming up with all this shit on the fly. Like he didn't plan these promos, none of it. He just talking.
That's what makes him one of the best talkers in AEW right now. But speaking of which, we had Dynamite this week. The show did 628,000 viewers on TBS. The show featured Kenny Omega kicking off the show to introduce the AEW Dynasty International Championship Eliminator Tournament. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. That takes a lot of breath. To determine the number 1 contender for his title. Later in the show, the wild card in the tourney was revealed to be the debuting Speedball Mike Bailey, who defeated the Beast Mortos in an awesome debut matchup to advance to the 4-way final next week on Dynamite. It was Tony Khan who went to social media immediately following the matchup to confirm that Speedball is #AllElite. In the main event, we got Orange Cassidy beating Hechicero to also advance to the 4-way final next week. We had a brief confrontation between Orange and Speedball as they are 2 of the 4 men who will be in the 4-way next week on Dynamite. They announced that Jon Moxley will defend the AEW World title against Cobb once again in a street fight rematch next week on Dynamite. Basically, the match they should have done at Revolution. Hey! We also got a brief confrontation between Cobb and Swerve Strickland backstage at Revolution, as well as heard some words from Jon Moxley. It was confirmed by commentary that the winner of Mox versus Cobb 2 will verse Swerve Strickland on April 6th at AEW Dynasty in Philadelphia. Will Ospreay, the aforementioned Will, he cut a very good promo declaring himself for the Owen Hart Cup tournament to go on to headline the biggest show of the year, AEW Texas, and win the AEW World Championship. But a better promo, the best promo of the night to me, Timeless Toni Storm.
Oh my God.
An absolutely splendid promo on our Hollywood Ending victory and made an open challenge to the locker room, telling the ladies that put your keys in the bowl and let the orgy begin. Until someone did step up to the plate in Megan Bayne, who attacked her from behind and laid her out. But that wouldn't be the last time we saw Megan Bayne on the show, as later in the show we had Willow Nightingale beat Penelope Ford, and then post-match Ford attacked a Willow with some of the worst steel chair shots this side of Nia Jackson War Games until Chris Statlander made the save. However, Megan Bayne came out and laid out both Stat and Willow to stand tall, looking like the beast that she is, and seemingly setting herself up for a shot at the AEW Women's World title. Christian Cage got all of his heat back as he declared that he is still the next AEW World Champion, but he was called out by his son, Nick Wayne, which led to Christian ripping into both Mother Wayne by telling her she can go back to the midnight shift at Waffle House, and Nick Wayne by saying that his father, his biological father, was a coward who died in front of his mother. Damn. That's my hero. That's my hero, folks. Powerhouse Hobbs and Hologram picked up a tag team win over Jalistico and Brian Cage in tag team action on the show with Hologram in their corner. And then you also had MVP interrupt MJF promo, and he explained their history with one another dating back to when Max was 18 years old. But then MVP called out MJF for losing his edge as of late and not being feared by the locker room. And he told him that the people that they do fear in the locker room is the Hurt Syndicate before offering MJF a card, his business card. MJF, of course, tried to initially turn it down by talking about how he was the longest reigning AEW World Champion in history, only for MVP to state the operative word was. So MJF wound up taking that card. Later in the show, we got MJF and Hangman Adam Page having a face-to-face confrontation backstage where they talked about their masses falling off, with MJF revealing how much he cares about the fans not loving him, while Hangman feels he no longer is worthy of the fans' love. So I love the fact that that rivalry is continuing following Revolution. Josh, what did you think about this week's Dynamite?
It was a fun episode. I honestly, the beginning, I thought it was kind of started off slow for me, and then they kind of bounced back. There was a lot of good promo segments, in my opinion, on the show, and it was great seeing Speedball. He seems generally happy being there so far. He's been speaking positive, even on social media. So that was cool to see, and the fact that he was the wild card, I was like, that's what I was hoping for. But overall, it was a solid episode. I do like what they've been doing with Megan Bayne. Like, she's just built up an ass and not even talking at all either, because she doesn't really need to talk. So I've been liking that stuff as well.
Yeah, they really made her look strong on this week's episode. Krssi, what did you think?
Dynamite was a good show. The Christian Cage segment for me was like, put me over. I was like, oh, we're going here? Okay. And he was like, oh, you want to talk? And she kindly declined and stepped back because she knows that, her come up has changed and she want to stay in the same, this same lifestyle. The lifestyle changed a lot. But yeah, I'm liking the way that they're narrating the Nick Wayne portion. Did I freeze? Okay, here we go. Yeah. I'm liking the whole Nick Wayne portion of the story as well. But Toni Storm was MVP of the night for me, of course. She overdoes herself each week. It's like, damn, when you do 1 week, you did last week, now you did it again. Like, it's like, how do you keep one-upping yourself every freaking week? It's just like amazing to see her do this, and I'm loving the way she's evolved and like where she's come from, and now like to see her here is just great shit for me.
Absolutely. I feel like she's finally put the character and the in-ring work together.
Yes. Year.
And it's just been, and her promo game has gotten even better over the months as well. So this was another example.
This in the mirror, like, did she do this at home and like get this? Like, I could see her, like she's an artist and she's the actress, and I feel her like she's in her bathroom mirror or something, or in her closet, like practicing this promos.
She doesn't even cut promos. She does monologues. This was a monologue.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, I'm gonna make you feel like at a zoo because I bleed like a stuffed pig, I lick like a giraffe, and I bite like a lion. But I don't meow because I'm no pussy. What bars? Like,
and like, who wrote that? Like,
a script writer. It had to be a script writer. I don't know.
It's great. It's really good shit though. I'm loving it.
Yeah. What did you think about Dynamite this week?
Yeah, I think that Toni has kind of become the Hangman of the women's division. She's the main character, in the sense of, and I think what's also interesting about those two, they're always in character, So like,
yes.
Everything feels so natural at this point because like they live the gimmick, like they really live the gimmick. But Dynamite, listen, when we started off, Kenny Omega getting the Princess Diana treatment, I love it. I love it. I think we need to do it more. We need to throw roses in the ring for her. But bro, they bring it. Who else gets that? That's real love. That's what the people can't teach. That's what nobody else will ever be on that level. I love that. Like Kenny is kind of like, I wouldn't even put him in the same category as like the Hangman, Swerve, Ospreay guys of like Kenny's like just such a cut above. Like this is the father of AEW at this point. He is so revered, so loved. They giving him gifts just for being alive.
And his reaction, like, oh, thank you.
He's like, oh, like I love that Princess Diana treatment. We need to do it more. But yeah, I think that this Dynamite was very promo heavy, but I think it needed to be. It set up a lot, and it set up like these next couple stories, and it's just proof of how strong this product is outside of this world title picture. They've essentially, in everything but like name, have made the international title the top title of the promotion. I love seeing Speedball debut. He's right at home. This is the perfect fit. I'm excited to see what he does. I feel like I would have loved to see Hechicero beat Orange Cassidy. I'm not gonna lie. If I never see another OC international title match, it'll still be too soon. I'm not even saying he can't challenge for for another title. Just do something else. Anything else. Like Orange Cassidy, go to New Japan, go to CMLL, do something else. Do anything else.
Why was, when OC was at the peak of his powers, he opened up every Dynamite show when he was international champion. Yet when he's like probably the least over he's ever been in AEW, he's main evented like 3 out of the last 6 weeks of Dynamite. This week I was just like, there was no excuse for that. It should have been the wild card. You promote the wild card and that's your main event. I don't understand. And especially if Orange is gonna win at the end, at least have Hechicero win. I agree with you, Lyric.
Absolutely. But I think that the Hangman MJF feud is continuing, is great. MJF and Hurts could, like I said, I don't think he fits the criteria. But I'm interested to see where this has been going. And like somebody had said it, but it feels like MVP has been circling Hangman by extension for a while over these last couple of months. And so something with, and we have to remember, like there was the right before the MJF Hangman, when he like bumps into him, we find Hangman by Swerve's locker room and all these different things. Like they're circling each other. And like I said, these are the only three men that have essentially been world champion, that the AEW has built to world champions. So something's going to happen soon. I'm not sure what quite what, but I think that's going to be interesting to follow. Megan Bain, as somebody who followed her Stardom run, I always knew what she was capable of, and I think the AEW is building her perfectly. And I think that one thing that they're doing is they are immediately establishing her as somebody on the same level as Toni, Stat, and Willow. And that means she is a top girl in this division, and I think that that's very important. And so I hope that they just use it to their advantage. It's just too much talent to let these women it's just too talent to not use these women to their full potential. But I like Dynamite. I think that the tag match was really good. I would love to see Hobbs with some type of gold at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He's been brilliant. He's been brilliant since he came back. And I think also that Hologram's been great since he came back. And even unfortunately, I enjoyed the Jericho segment. I think that
him doing Hamlet with
I think they got the timing on it right. It wasn't too long. It occupied the right amount of space on the show. And so, I'm kind of into it. It's not something that I'm purposefully looking for every week, but it's not offensive anymore. I used to be personally offended when I heard I am the learning tree.
Yeah.
So, I don't feel as personally offended anymore, but I like the direction of where everything's going. Ospreay is over. I do think it's very interesting that, when you see who the show is built around, Ospreay talking about entering the Owen. So we're that must be happening fairly soon. If we're already talking about it, which makes me believe that, Darby might be out of the picture.
I literally, that was what I got from that promo too. I was are they moving on from Darby?
It sounds to me, I believe if I was a betting woman, I'd believe that your Owen final will be Hangman versus Ospreay. That's how I feel at this point. I think those journeys are going to converge. And I've said this. I would love for Hangman Ospreay to be a purely in-ring feud. Like, I don't need them to talk a lot. Like, I would love them to have a very similar feud to what Hangman and Danielson had. Like, it should always be about being the world champion. It should always be about being the best in the company. Like, I think they can make just some of the greatest matches we could ever see. Like, I want to see them have like just a purely in-ring feud. Like, and I think like if you set them up as your Owen finalists, that could really set that off. And I think that that's why it was so cool that the Danielson Hangman rivalry ended in that way at the Owen final. So, but yeah, I liked it overall.
But that brings me to our next big question that's in the headline for the show, because you got the Cope versus Mox street fight next week. Then we got the winner of that facing Swerve at Dynasty. And outside of the Kenny Omega tournament to determine his number one contender, the other theme of this week's Dynamite was all the main event players have their sights set on the AEW World Championship. Like you said, you have Will Ospreay says he's entering the Owen. He wants to become the champion at All In Texas. Then immediately they went to Jay White, kind of responding to that, being like, I'm still have my sights set on the AEW World Championship. I want to become the AEW World Champion. You had Christian Cage say he's still the next AEW World Champion. MJF says he's going to win world title after world title after world title before Hangman. We know Hangman still has his sights set on the title. So who is it going to be that saves us? Who is it going to be that releases the stranglehold, the albatross that is the death and takes the AEW world title off of Moxley? So I'll start with you, Josh, on this one. Who do you think? Who do you think is going to be the one to dethrone Moxley? And when does it happen?
It's gonna be Swerve, and it's gonna be at Dynasty. That's all I need to say about that.
Krssi?
I like that Swerve is back in the picture and he can be the potential 2-time champ. So yes, I would go with Swerve.
Lyric?
I feel like it has to be Swerve. You know, like by the time we get to Dynasty, what is that? That's midway through April, and no, that's first week of April. Yeah. Like it has to be Swerve. I think of just at All In, especially because it feels like Darby's out of the picture.
Yeah.
Because it feels like Darby's out of the picture, I'm not interested in seeing Mox versus any of these guys. Like, All In, like All In. I don't think you can tell that at this point. And I think that, and I've said this. I said this on Dynamite book, but right now. And I try not to compare them, but let's just be honest. Right now, WWE, you're never going to out nostalgia them. Like they got Cena and The Rock. You are not going to.
That's a good one.
With Mox and Cope, you're not going to do that. Like you're just not going to do that. But
never,
because they're leaning so heavily in to nostalgia for this WrestleMania season. Think about who's at the top. Like, you know, it's the guys we've been seeing, Roman, Seth, CM Punk, you know, like, yeah. But what AEW does have is fresh stars, and there's an appetite for that. And I think that you have to make a very bold statement with your men's world title picture for, for All In. And I think you have this core group of guys, and I think it has to be one of them. And I think that Swerve versus Hangman at All In, I do think that that's the match you need to run. That is the thing. The whole feud was built around the world title. They still haven't had a match for the world title. Hangman is your main character, and Swerve is main event in a stadium. MJF is main event in a stadium. I think that needs to be the world title match. But I think that Swerve is still, even if that isn't like the match, Swerve is the only answer like right now. Like you got to get that title off him. Like you got to get that title off Mox, and it has to be soon if you have any chance of selling them tickets.
That's how you'll get people to fill those seats in Texas. I'm sorry.
You know,
I
rodeo season out there with them, and they're out there in full throttle. And you want them to sit in them seats, you're gonna have to put that black man in that main event, and you're gonna have to let them know that he is the one that's going to overthrow and take the throne and be the champion again.
And think about it. I think we have a precedent for that of, remember when they were doing Team AEW versus Team Elite originally?
Yes.
They couldn't beat, until Swerve got in the mix. Team AEW kept losing. They lost Anarchy in the arena.
Yes.
Swerve has really stepped up as that savior of the company. And also, too, I think they've built up Swerve so high and he's been protected, so much. I think that you do a lot of damage to his character if you don't let him. Yes. If you have him lose, especially clean. So this version of Jon Moxley,
yeah, terrible. Yeah,
you undo a lot of the work. And don't get me wrong, none of it'll be permanent. Like as we've seen with Hangman, like when you build some of these characters, like they can take a lot of damage. They're not over, but it is going to take some significant rehabbing to build them back up to the mega stars that that they are now. I don't think you want to run that risk with Swerve. And so I feel like the fact that they're even running this match, if I like Swerve, even as a top guy, I'm not even sure he would have even accepted it if
probably not.
No,
I'm just, if he didn't know, yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I might tell you a joke, but I never tell you a lie. Hell no. I'll go back to Ricochet and Bobby Lashley. Hell no. Don't call me unless you need me to win that belt.
Yep. Don't make me look out here. Don't make me look stupid. You made me come and end the ending that was stupid. Don't make me. Yeah, this must be for a reason. Yep. Because I'm not. Don't sign me up for foolishness.
I'm praying that all of y'all are right. I'm praying for that. Unfortunately, that's not what I'm predicting because I don't have any faith in Tony Khan to make the right decision after what he did at Revolution. I don't think he's going to make the right decision and have Swerve win at Dynasty. No. I think that they'll find a stupid ass way for Moxley to retain again. And yes, he's probably still going to be champion at All In, and they're going to have to switch from a stadium to an arena in Texas if that's the case. And
I'm not going.
Lyric did the Magic Johnson. I won't be there.
I say I had already had plans, everything. Like I haven't booked my flight yet, but I went to Wembley. Like I went to the first All In. Like I was devoted. Like I already told my friends in Dallas, like, hey, like I'm coming.
I'm pulling up. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm about to even put in my PTO, of just but I will stay my ass home. We will watch from the crib. And I might not do that.
Right, yeah, sometimes that's the best place.
Absolutely. I'm not bro, I'm not doing that. I'm just who's going for that? I think especially when I know you got better in the bag. Because imagine, this is what's going to happen. This was going to really make me crash out. If you have a card that ends up having Omega Okada and Mercedes Athena, and I still got to watch Mox versus insert person here, Mox versus fucking Jay White in the main event, I'm going.
I think Annika's right. I think it's gonna be Ospreay that beats him at All In. Maybe I am trying to put the jinx in. I'm trying to be like Tony Khan, prove me wrong here, and do the right decision and have Swerve win at Dynasty. But right now, coming off, we're just 6 days from away from what happened at Revolution. Right now, I have no belief he's gonna make that right decision at Dynasty.
You're gonna risk fans turning on Ospreay too, and the reason why I say this is because I love Will Ospreay, but he is his own worst enemy sometimes with overbooking things. And think about how overbooked this Death Rider shenanigans has already been. That versus Will Ospreay in a stadium main event. Oh my God, it's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be awful. They can't help themselves. Think about the Ospreay MJF feud, and I think they brought out the worst in each other. They catered to each other's worst instincts of just constantly more overbooking. It's going to be awful. I'm not going to that's going to be terrible, and you don't want to ruin Ospreay, especially before you go back to Wembley in 2026.
This is true.
That's when you need Ospreay in a stadium main event.
Yeah, I think Ospreay should win the AEW World Title next year at All In.
Correct.
But I'll take anybody. I'll take anybody at this point. Just get the title off of Moxley. But yeah, I'm just putting that in the air to say, Tony Khan, please prove me wrong. But What we do have to look forward to probably at All In is a title unification matchup, as AEW is reportedly considering unifying two of their secondary men's titles. Fightful Select reports that sources in AEW state that a unification of the AEW International Championship and AEW Continental Championship was pitched a number of months ago, and at one point many in the company considered it to be a firm creative plan. There's no word specifically on who would be unifying the titles and if they would be carried together or rebranded as a unified championship. It was also noted that the FTW Championship's retirement in September of last year was done in order to wind down the number of titles in the company. There's no word of now whether it would be current Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada or current International Champion Kenny Omega are factored into those plans, but one can assume that should be the matchup to unite or unify the International Championship and Continental Championship. And if that's the case, and if Jon Moxley is the AEW World Champion, that's your AEW All In Texas main event. That's a no-brainer.
You're cooked. The game is cooked. You're cooked. And also, too, we're at a point to where even if it doesn't main event, even if it does or doesn't main event, you have that unification match on the same card as the Death Riders. That will be an official signal that the unified title is the new world title. To even set up the world title like that with anybody that's not for... You have to function at 200%. Like not one, 200%. Omega and Okada in a stadium? And I'm not even saying that they're going to recreate what they were able to do in New Japan, but it's going to be completely different. It's going to be something completely different. But these guys, they are big match performers. They come alive, like, and I think that a lot of people kind of may have a distorted view of who Okada actually is because of like the stuff that he does on AEW. He only really turn up for real when the lights are bright, y'all. Like you're gonna in a stadium.
And we saw that in the Continental Finals with Ospreay at World's End.
We saw that with some of the pay-per-views matches that he had, like even like the Pac matchup. He's one of those people. He's a big match performer, like. And you put that with Kenny Omega with a chip on his shoulder, like, and nobody wants to be on the card with them. Like, I'm gonna be honest on that. And so to knowingly put your worst shooters out against with that, and I think also too, Mercedes and Athena on that card. Are you fucking crazy?
Everybody else might as well go home.
Are you crazy? Is this who we are? Is this who we represent?
I wouldn't advise doing that. That would be a bad decision on Tony Khan's part. But we see. I don't know. Don't worry, because
if he doesn't, we just won't be there. That's all. Yeah. We won't be there.
We won't be there. We got Call Me Mr. Banda with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Call Me Mr. Banda. He says, let's get that AEW Shockwave show going with the eye emoji and the prayer emoji. I think that Shockwave is dead. It's a dead deal. Like they're not coming up with that. So Swerve was talking a little bit too much to Flip. He ruined it.
He knew he was on camera.
I don't think he knew the camera was on him. He just thought they were taking pictures.
What happened? It just probably won't be on Fox like people thought. Like, but I do think that AEW will get another hour of TV, and I think they need it. They just need more hours of television.
Great. We also got Vala B with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Vala B. He says, you think if Swerve wasn't hurt, they would have had the match next week instead of the rematch? No. Swerve versus the AEW World Champion has been the plan for Dynasty ever since they made that number one contenders matchup between Swerve and Ricochet. And then we got Valo B with another super chat donation. Thank you so much. Once again, you guys have killed it today. He says, I wish Top Stars worked the tag division if they have nothing going on for them, just to keep the tag division's creative flowing a little stronger. What they need to do after Revolution and the close of his rivalry, put Kyle Fletcher back with Mark Davis and give us Aussie Open in the tag team division.
Amen.
That would help things out significantly, and bring the Young Bucks back. When Young Bucks back, Aussie Open back, Undisputed Kingdom putting Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly back in the tag team division, that was a brilliant choice because you saw what they delivered with FTR a couple of weeks ago. They're going to deliver again tonight on Collision. The tag team division is starting to take shape, and then you got a powerhouse team at the top with Shelton and Bobby of the Hurt Syndicate. We can get it flowing, but you have to make those little decisions, bring the Bucks back, and reunite Aussie Open. I think it will be in a better position. What do you think?
You know who I think will be a really great team? Okada and Ricochet.
I never thought about that.
I think that Okada and Ricochet together make a lot of sense. I think they have a very similar humor. I think that they very similar antics, and I think that they could, like, if you're not going to put a singles belt on them, I think that they could make a lot of sense together, especially if Ricochet is the plan for Kenny match, and if he loses, I think that Ricochet joining forces with Okada could be really cool. You know, like, I'm not saying obviously they need to still do their own single stuff, but I think that you have an opportunity, especially after like the success of like a Hangman and Omega. Top stars can tag and still be efficient and do their own thing. Like, you know, it can be something like really good. And so I would like to explore that. And I think also too, I think Murder Machines are really cool. I think that with the star power of the Hurt Syndicate, you need real stars. And I think that putting Cobb and Christian, I think make perfect sense. Like, that's a perfect place for them. So yeah, I would like to see it.
Yeah, I definitely. I didn't think of Okada and Ricochet. That would actually be a lot of fun. I don't think Ricochet is going to win the tournament, because I did have the privilege of I think it was his first interview since his debut. I got to talk to Speedball Mike Bailey for Sports Illustrated. The article will be out later this weekend, and he more or less told me that this is the matchup that he's been chasing for 10 years. Kenny Omega. He said that when he got basically, didn't have his visa and couldn't come into the United States, he went to Japan and went to DDT. Why? Because that's the promotion that Kenny Omega came up in. And what is his finishing move? For anybody in the chat who doesn't know, his finishing move is called the Ultimate Weapon. Yep. And that is based on Final Fantasy VII. Which the character Cloud has a sword that he finishes off the villain of the game, who is Sephiroth, who is also, his nickname is what? The One Wing Angel. So he literally named his finishing move off of what Kenny Omega's finishing move is. That has to be the match that they are like, and he's new to the company. It just makes sense for him to pick up some wins and have a big matchup at the next pay-per-view. So I think that Speedball is going to win this tournament.
I don't. I think that they should save that match for the Canada tour. I would do that because both of them are Canadian. If I was them, especially because, let's just be real, last year the Canada tour didn't sell as well as I think people would have liked to, outside of probably, I think, Toronto and a couple of the major cities. I would save that match specifically for the Canada tour. I think that would be a huge seller. Kenny Omega versus Speedball. That puts butts in seats. And so I think strategically, don't get me wrong, I want to see the match. I think we all want to see the match.
Yes.
But the thing is, people are going to watch Dynasty regardless, because you've already announced that Kenny's defending. Which match do you need? Like, I think using that match, where would it have the most value for AEW? I think you need to save that for Canada.
I also don't want Ricochet, because he is, in my opinion, the top heel right now. I don't want him to just win a tournament just to lose again at a pay-per-view. So that's why I also wouldn't mind if Ricochet wasn't involved in the finish of the 4-way next week. And maybe you could do a Ricochet and Orange Cassidy rivalry where Ricochet eventually wins that rivalry to kind of get himself more over and get himself back into the upper echelon of AEW. So there's good options here for the 4-way next week for sure. One final news note from Dynamite, or from the Revolution weekend, we had Killswitch. He was backstage reportedly at AEW Revolution with discussions of him being used for the show. Fightful Select reports that they asked about rumors of an alternate ending being planned for the show, but that there is no confirmation of such. Several sources indicated that Killswitch was backstage at the show, and there were discussions of him being used. The main event of the show saw Christian Cage cash in his guaranteed title shot to insert himself into the Jon Moxley versus Cobb matchup for the AEW World Championship, only for Moxley to make Christian pass out in a bulldog choke. When asked about whether Killswitch was discussed specifically in regards to the rumored alternate ending, the sources went quiet. Killswitch has been out of action due to serious medical issues since September of last year. He has not yet been confirmed as cleared, so hoping that he could just get back, because that was like scary what I heard about him with the pneumonia and everything. So hopefully he's back soon. But one final show to go over from AEW this week, which last Saturday you had AEW Collision, which was the final show, the go home before Revolution. They did 363,000 viewers. The show featured Daniel Garcia beating Lee Moriarty in a good matchup to retain the AEW TNT Championship. Momo Watanabe defeated Serena Deeb in a decent little matchup. You also had post-match Mercedes Moné confronted Watanabe, only for Momo to lay her out before the TBS Championship matchup at Revolution. Undisputed Kingdom's Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly defeated the Infantry, while Hologram beat Derlistico in a very fun Lucha Libre encounter. And then finally, final news note as far as the AEW verse goes, it's the latest on Ryan Nemeth and his lawsuit against AEW. AEW and Tony Khan have filed a petition to have Ryan Nemeth's lawsuit against them move to private arbitration. As reported, Nemeth filed a suit against AEW, Tony Khan, and CM Punk on February 14th for an alleged assault and breach of contract, as well as breach of implied confidence of good faith and fair dealing, and intentional interference with prospective advances. Brandon Thurston reports for Post Wrestling that AEW and Khan filed a petition on Friday in the U.S. District Attorney in the Middle District of Florida, asking the judge to comply Nemeth to an arbitration. AEW and Khan argued that the claims alleged by Nemeth could be handled through private arbitration rather as opposed to a public court, and note that Nemeth signed 3 contracts in 2021, 2022, and 2023, which all contain arbitration clauses mandating that disputes are to be handled in Duval County, Florida. And this is basically the same thing that they did to the Boys and Kevin Kelly. So yeah, I don't think this lawsuit is going anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere for Nemeth, and we said that from the very beginning.
Yeah, from last week. Yeah,
we got bench players talking like starters, man. I just
to be honest, I think calling him a bench player is even generous. To be honest,
like, man, like what are we talking? What do we talk about? We talk about Dolph Ziggler's little brother, bro. Little brother. Like,
you know what's crazy?
Like, who are you?
You know what's crazy? They did like a skit too on TNA where they basically shitted on him completely, saying like how he wasn't important, nobody liked him. So I'm like, you think that's gonna help his perception in the lawsuit? It's not.
Like, bro, it's like, what are we saying? Like, what are we talking about for real? Like, who is a shooter for Ryan Nemeth? Where are the Ryan Nemeth shooters?
Yeah.
There ain't nobody.
I think
not
that's
a soul.
too. Like, the people, you can tell, like, I don't know who be boosting y'all heads or anything, but give it up enough. Like, why did you think that this was going to work out for you?
That this was okay.
And
Then
why are you doing all of this when you have a job? You have a job. Right? You be worrying about your job?
Wrestling is the only place where people sign contracts without reading them and then be like, "Can I do that?" No. Like nobody else who like, and I think that's anybody who's ever had like a real job, a real career, who signed a real contract before. That's why all these things just be so crazy. Like, and because what are you saying?
Yep.
No normal people in any other profession can get away with doing nothing like this, having a job at the end of the day. Like, what are you saying, y'all? All right, y'all got it.
Me jumping out the window. To finish out the Converse this week, you had ROH TV on Honor Club. The show featured Atlantis, Espionage, and Mystico. I just found out that Espionage is the boyfriend of Tessa Blanchard. Totally changed my opinion on him. And Mystico, yes, defeated Rocky Romero, Euphoria, and Valentia in a rock solid main event. Blake Christian, Lyric's favorite wrestler, he defeated Titus Alexander in a good bout. Gates of Agony and Top Flight defeated the Frat House and Premier Athletes. Layla Gray defeated Lady Frost, while Katsuyori Shibata beat Lee Johnson. So that is all from the Converse this week in on Tru Heel Heat. So let's move on over. We're going to do things differently. Usually we would go over to WWE, but we got Lyric with us, who is up way too early, like me, to watch some New Japan Pro Wrestling. So why not talk about week 2 of the New Japan Cup, which was this past week. Starting from last Sunday, you had night 2, which featured Drilla Maloney defeating Tomohiro Ishii in an absolute banger. You also had Boltin Oleg. He picked up the win over Bad Luck Fale. Great Okan beat NJPW World Television Champion El Phantasmo, while Tetsuya Naito beat Callum Newman. For Drilla, Boltin, Okan, and Naito all advancing in the tournament on that night. Then you had night 3, which had Zack Sabre Jr. beating Roye Uyawa in a battle of TMDK. That was a clinic that they put on there. You had Yuya Uemura defeated Yoshihashi in a solid bout, while the Battle of the Bullet Club, David Finlay beat Evil via countout with no help whatsoever from Sonata for ZSJ, Uemura, and Finlay to advance in the tournament. Night 4 had Tai Chi and Gabe Kidd. They were on their way to having one of the best matches of the damn tournament until it was ruined by Ren Narita and House of Torture, which led to a count out for Tai Chi in a very good matchup. Shota Umino beat Great Okan in the main event for Tai Chi and Shooter to advance in the tournament. Then you had night 5, which had Shingo Takagi beating Boltin Oleg in a hard-hitting Haas fight. You had Drilla Maloney defeated TJP in a solid bout. Jeff Cobb beat Tetsuya Naito in a pretty solid main event after some rumors that we'll discuss later, which led to Shingo, Drilla, and Cobb to all advance in the tournament. And then night 6, by far the best night of the tournament so far this morning. You had Hiroki Goto defeating Yuji Nagata in a great main event to retain the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Nagata still got a little bit left in the tank, even at his 56-year-old age. Shingo Takagi beat Drilla Maloney in an absolute banger that they had of the first match of the tournament on this show. Then you had David Finlay defeating Yuya Uemura in an excellent encounter. Those two guys just have great chemistry with one another. Bald Shota Umino beat Jeff Cobb in a pretty good matchup themselves, showing more power than he usually shows there. But the match of the night, and in my opinion, one of the best matches of the year, you had Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Tai Chi in a battle of the Dangerous Techers. This was an absolutely superb bout that was filled with emotion and drama the entire way. So that leads us to the final 4, which will be Shingo Takagi versus Shota Umino, as well as David Finlay versus Zack Sabre Jr. on the left side of the bracket. Those go down SmackDown tomorrow morning as well as Monday morning. Both semifinal matches will headline those particular shows. But what did you think about the week overall, Lyric, and especially this morning show, which I thought was up there with New Beginning and Wrestle Dynasty as probably the third best New Japan show we saw this year?
I agree. I do agree on that as the third best. I like this week a lot. I think that the New Japan Cup blew last year and the year before out of the water. This year, like, they're functioning on a great level. My standout matches were probably the Zach Oiwa match was amazing. Zach Taichi was amazing. I agree that Taichi and Gabe was going really well until it didn't. I think David Finlay and Yuya, had great chemistry. Shingo and Drilla had, an amazing match. They always have good chemistry. My biggest problem with New Japan Cup is why are we rewarding Shota Umino for doing nothing?
He just cut his hair.
All he did was shave his hair. He still hits like he's throwing cotton balls. Go girl, give us nothing. And the thing is that I'm trying not to be so hard, but honestly, we should be at this point. It's kind of like the same thing we're talking about AEW. And it's funny that we talk about Mox, who is his mentor. I don't know who told everybody that this is the time. This is not the time to take the foot off the gas. This is not the time to phone it in. You're not there. When everybody else is elevating, the rest of the roster, everybody is really trying to restore New Japan to its former glory. Everybody seems to be on one accord. You have Tsuji, Yuya, you have David Finlay, Gabe Kidd. The top guys are top guying. You have Hiroki Goto, who has been a godsend as a champion. You have Naito is having good matches. Nagata's having good matches. Tanahashi's having good matches, and they have 2.5 knees between the three of them. You have all these people.
What? Not 2.5 knees.
The old heads, young guys, everybody is really doing a big one right now. Everybody's really functioning on this high level, and we are giving Shota credit for giving crumbs. That match today with Great O'Khan, not Great O'Khan, but that match was so slow. It was slower than the match that Tetsuya Naito had.
That is something.
And Tetsuya Naito can barely walk. And I'm so serious at this point. It's at this point to where I know we've all invested so much into Shota. He's gotten every single opportunity. He was given a Tokyo Dome main event after he was booed by the fans. How much are you going to give? And I think I expected so much more. I was like, oh yeah, Shota's returning, so I expect so much out of this match. I think that, we expect aggression. It's going to be this. All he is bald. That's it. He's just bald. And I think everybody's just like, oh, I like to see it. Oh, he's trying. It's again that word, he's trying. And honestly, I think I see more criticism for Zach than I see for Shota. Are y'all crazy? Are you lit? What's not clicking? Zach's style might not be for everybody, but he's in there. He's not trying. He's doing. He's executing. Several of the best matches of this year have included him, not the ones in the Tokyo Dome. I will be honest about that. But
yeah, I like the Ricochet match. I liked
it. But to continuously be like, oh yeah, Zach is boring, but to be like, oh, let's see where this goes with Shota. We've been seeing where this goes for the last 4 years. Are you crazy? Enough is enough. It's one of those things we're at the point. Same thing with AEW is it was a time where it'd be like, oh, who's going to take over? But now you have several top guys who are ready right now. They're not. We have passed the point where potential can be used as currency. And I think that the more that we spend time on trying to make Shota Umino a star, we are taking from the guys who have already made themselves stars. We are consistently giving opportunities to someone who has not capitalized on one. And I think that is the only frustrating part about New Japan right now. Everything else is really good. Everything else is really good. I agree with everybody else, in the Final Four. I think that New Japan Cup has been really good. I think that the Reiwa era guys are really stepping up. But Shota's that big question mark. Like, you know, if I really wonder what's wrong with some of y'all if a bald head will move you, but that Zach Taichi match didn't.
Yeah, there's something wrong. There's something wrong there. If that Zach Taichi, that was full with emotion, with drama, like that had it. You had Taichi crying at the opening bell. I was like, oh, I know this is gonna be good. I know this is gonna be good. This man was crying. I was like, he had tears in his eye. I thought that was one of the best matches of the year for me so far. I saw somebody be like, oh, it's a solid 4.5. I was like, it's higher than that. That shit had emotion to it. You don't get those type of storytelling matches in the game right now.
New Japan has become the promotion of emotion again, and you'll be hard pressed to find a company that can produce what Gabe versus Kenny made you feel, Goto versus Tanahashi made you feel, Goto versus Zack made you feel, Taichi versus Zack made you feel, Goto versus Nagata made you feel. Of like, they're making you feel. In addition to having these really good matches, even like bringing in El Desperado versus Kosei Fujita, they're making you feel things. And I think everybody is making you feel something. Yota Tsuji versus Gabe Kidd. What has Shota Umino done to deserve all these things?
I really wanted my Cobb versus Shingo rematch. Like, that's what I called in our New Japan Cup preview. I was like, give me my Shingo and Cobb rematch. Now I don't think we're ever gonna see that because of the rumor that dropped this week. Now we just lost the chance at that. But since we're at the final four, let's get our predictions around the table. We'll start with Miss Krssi Luv. We got the final four. It's gonna be Shingo Takagi versus the aforementioned Shota Umino, and we got David Finlay versus Zack Sabre Jr. So, who do you think wins, Shingo and Shooter?
Shooter.
I think they're that stupid. Yeah, they'll probably have Shota Umino get that win. Lyric.
I agree.
Josh.
Same. I think it's Umino.
Okay, so let's make the right decision here in New Japan, because I do like Zack Sabre Jr.
I would say,
the hot hand right now, I feel, is David Finlay. So I'm going with David Finlay over ZSJ. Lyric?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think David Finlay was supposed to win the tournament last year, but like he got injured or sick, one of them. And I don't think he was ready at that point, but he's ready now. Like, he's ready now. I have him to win it all.
That was my pick at the beginning of the tournament. I'm sticking with it. So yeah, I got Finlay to beat Zack Sabre Jr. and then Finlay to beat Shooter. What about you, Krssi Luv? Who wins Finlay and Zack, and who wins the tournament?
I love Zack Sabre Jr., but I think it's Finlay's time because they should have did it a few months ago. But yeah, I think David Finlay should definitely win it.
So you got him winning against Zack, and you got him winning the tournament?
Yeah, the whole thing.
The whole thing?
Yep.
Josh?
Same, Finlay. And I got him winning the tournament as well.
There we go. So we'll see what happens there. Lyric. I'm gonna put out the invite now. We want you to come back for the New Japan Cup final review. So we can, if it's Shota Umino, we can all bash Gato together. All right. So I'm gonna hit you up this week till when I lock it in with Sanal and J News. But thank you so much, Lyric, for joining us today. We had so much fun. You got so many fans and new fans in the chat loving what you brought to the show today. We want to give you the floor right now. Let everybody know where they can follow you on social media and when they might see you again on their YouTube screens. The floor is yours.
Yes, you can find me at Lyric Wrestling on Twitter and Instagram, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Lyric Swinton. The next thing that should come out for me is a Revolution review. So that should be up really soon. So that'll be exciting, plus some other stuff. I plan on releasing a few articles for Women's History Month, so just stay on the lookout for that. Oh, and I recently had an article in Pro Wrestling Illustrated in the Spotlight on Japan issue that is out now for purchase. I wrote about All Japan Pro Wrestling, specifically the Elpida faction. So you can order that on the PWI website, both print and digital copy.
Love it. Please support Lyric. She's an amazing writer, amazing podcaster. Her Twitter is a great place. If sometimes I don't know what's going on in like the Stardoms and the Marigolds, I just look at Lyric. If she tell me something's good, I go out and watch it. So make sure you follow her with everything she does. She's amazing, and we already got in the chat. Yes, come back to TNA.
Yes, please. Yay!
Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So we got to get into some WWE finally, guys. So for anyone who isn't versed in AEW and New Japan, the time is yours. You can tell the people to tune back in. Because last night for us, afternoon for y'all, they had WWE SmackDown, which was in Spain. You had that show featured a great crowd, by the way, which featured the Street Profits beating DIY in a very fun tag team main event to win the WWE Tag Team Championships. You also had LA Knight, kicked off the show, but he was interrupted by Jimmy Uso, who looked to challenge for the United States Championship to set up his road to WrestleMania 41, only for his brother Solo Sikoa, as well as his cousins Jacob Fatu and Tamatanga, interrupted to stake Fatu's claim to the U.S. title. The former Bloodline members jumped Jimmy and Knight until Braun Strowman made the save to set up our opening matchup, which was a 6-man tag team match, which saw Braun, LA, and Jimmy picked up a win over Solo, Tama, and Jacob in a pretty fun trios opener. Post-match, though, you had Knight and Sikoa battle through the crowd after Solo delivered a Samoan spike to Strowman, and that led to Jacob Fatu laying out Jimmy and then delivering 3 double jump moonsaults to Braun, as well as a thunderous hip attack through the barricade. Later in the show, Fatu challenged Braun to a grudge match next week on SmackDown. Charlotte Flair, working like Tetsuya Naito with no knees, beat B-Fab in a very horrible matchup. I hated this match. So, post-match, Charlotte kept on the figure 8 until Tiffany Stratton made the save and got into a pull-apart brawl with Flair that led to Tiffy hitting a senton off the top rope onto a pile of security. That went so well that Triple H told them, please go out there and do it over. Basically, so they came back and they brawled in the entranceway with Tiffy delivering an even bigger senton off the top of the video board onto Charlotte, kind of, and a pile of security. Randy Orton defeated Carmelo Hayes in a good match. Post-match, you had Orton showed respect to Melo, only for him to paintbrush him across the face. Orton responded with an RKO, and he went to deliver the punt kick until Kevin Owens pulled Melo away, but he was able to escape through the crowd after throwing Randy into the ring post. Damian Priest beat Shinsuke Nakamura via disqualification after interference from Drew McIntyre, who laid out Priest with a claymore and said that he would make his life a living hell after going over how many times Priest has screwed him over in the past year earlier in the show. We got 2 very exciting vignettes on this show as well. One for Rey Fenix coming to WWE, and another more mysterious one with the number 4 that many believe is the first vignette for the return of Aleister Black. And then in the biggest highlight from the show, you had Gunther, who made a surprise appearance and issued a challenge to Spain's own Axiom, the NXT Tag Team Champion. Gunther went on to pick up the victory over Axiom in an absolutely brilliant match with an electric round. Gunther picking up the victory, and it really told the story that I think they've been trying to tell for weeks, but it just felt very mid-card of it doesn't matter if the fans cheer you or not, Gunther's gonna beat your ass anyway, Jay. So that's and they did a backstage with Gunther and Jimmy. I thought overall this was a good show, but the last third hour of the show was probably the strongest third hour since they made the change to 3 hours. What did you think about SmackDown last night, Krssi?
Yes. Actually, surprisingly, the 9 o'clock hour was kind of like, it was kind of like mid-ish for me. The last hour, I think, saved this episode for sure. Because again, this 3 hour struggle, my husband, he says every Friday, wrestling's still on. I was like, it's Fridays, friend. They don't go off till 11. He was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, It'd be in the cloud, and I was like, yeah, I keep telling you, he forgets every Friday. But yeah, great last hour for the show. It saved it. This crowd was on fire. I even forgot that they were in another country, because I remember them saying that they're gonna schedule for Monday to be shown at like 3. So what was it? So I guess they did a pre-tape for SmackDown, because SmackDown nobody gives a shit.
Well, SmackDown, it was live for us in Europe.
In Europe for you guys, yes, but not for us.
But I shared the link with y'all. I'll share the link. Yeah.
I
got a link.
Okay, well, listen, I seen it on the regular time over here.
I didn't want you to have to stay up till 11 to watch the show. I was like,
I was at a funeral
today in the chat.
I didn't see it. I'm so sorry. Like, I try to be in and out of chat. Y'all be just going in though. And I can't keep up sometimes. And then I try to be in there when I fit in. If you put my name in for something, then I'll get the alert. But other than that, like I be trying to stay on, and there'd be too many chats. Y'all be going in. I don't know how y'all keep up with it, but hey, yeah.
I only keep up with the Tru Heel Heat chat, really. But
does Calvin even know still yet, or did they not? Did they find out yet, or no? Are we still keeping it a secret? Like.
We're still keeping it a secret. Josh.
Are you serious?
What did you think about last night's SmackDown, the title change for the Street Profits or Gunther and Axiom? And what about those vignettes of former AEW stars on the show?
SmackDown was fine. I do agree that the third hour was probably the strongest, even from the show itself. Mm-hmm. The crowd was great. I think like if you would kind of had this kind of episode probably over here somewhere, it probably wouldn't hit the same. But it was the same. Like it was a good episode overall. In regards to the vignettes, the second one I think is probably Aleister Black, but I'm like, who gives a fuck?
Wow, no, don't do that.
The first one was. I mean, it's obviously Rey Fenix. Like, I've been saying that. I was like the hand gesture, like the struck. It's definitely Rey Fenix, and I think him being on SmackDown is the right move. I think it's good for SmackDown in general, but also I think it's good, keep the Lucha Bros away from each other, because they're kind of they've been focused on Penta in the singles run, so I'm kind of glad they're going that route until when they ever pair up again, it means something. So I was fine with that. But I mean, like I said, overall, SmackDown was fine.
Yeah, I love the Gunther and Axiom match. That was
great match.
It's probably my favorite match on SmackDown this year so far. And DIY and Street Profits.
And Street Profits, yes.
Well.
Yep.
Yeah. The last 3 matches, those two and the Orton and Mello were all good.
Yes.
So
that's
it. And then the vignettes were exciting. But my God,
the Tiffany and Charlotte one.
That was awful. That was so bad. It was the match and the brawl had like so many botches.
They tried too hard.
It was like a Mania Honey Cove of like stuff.
I don't even think it was what's the name's fault either though. I think it's more, I don't know.
This is what I was gonna say. This is what I was gonna say, Krssi, and I want to hear your response.
Okay.
I won't say this to one of our people on the channel, because he'll be heartbroken for me to say this, and then he'll try to be, oh no she's not. But based on that matchup, I think that WrestleMania is the deciding factor if Charlotte Flair is cooked. I think she's cooked. I really do. And maybe it was because she was working against B-Fab, and that's not the best person to work against. But this feud with Tiffany Stratton has been fucking trash.
I think they've missed the point, because Tiffany and Charlotte look way too much alike. They're both wearing pink. Like the outfit, like you should have done like a big change up for when Charlotte came back. Because if you're going to have her go against Tiffany, we have to distinct the two. We have to differentiate the two, if I'm saying that word correctly. It's too much like the same, and they do the same moonsault. They have bleach blonde hair. Like, it's just too much of like I'm going against like my twin sister who's not my twin, who wanted to pretend to be me. You understand what I'm saying? And like when she came out, I was like, wait, is that Tiffany? I was like, oh no, that's fucking Charlotte. She comes out and I'm like, okay, no, I'm really being honest at this point. Like, it's like, I don't want to say she's cooked, but like, you know, I guess they didn't want to give her someone so big and dominant to come back as like her first like person to like go against because of the injury. And I get that. Tiffany is now the one-off. No problem. However, this matchup in itself, I think it's too soon. I think it shouldn't even happen. I think that you had to make a winner and you gave it to her. Great. But I just think it's probably like the effect was just like too soon because it's not even like she's getting what Bayley got last year. No one gives a fuck.
Well, at least Bayley, they had the interesting first couple of weeks, and then they stopped giving a fuck. Like there's been no creative put into this Tiffany and Charlotte rivalry, and it really feels like this is like the plan B because they really wanted Charlotte to come back as a babyface. It was obvious from that first promo she did after she won the Rumble, and then they had to basically change the course, make her the heel, make Tiffy the babyface. But it really feels like they are not even committing to that. The brawl it was so like Triple H being like, well, I got nothing better to do, so let's do a pull apart brawl. He booked so many pull apart brawl. This is a booking crutch for him. Pull apart brawls. And yeah, he got over with the fans in Spain. But I said to Romeo, I was like, those fans would have celebrated shit falling on them for how much they paid for those goddamn tickets. Josh, what do you think?
Oh my God, I can't.
I mean, it's true. And that's why, again, and this is kind of like what I've been saying about WWE, where it comes to like they kind of use like a smoke and mirrors kind of thing, where they get the crowd excited, but then it's like, was it actually really good?
Right.
And that's why for the most part, they really don't care when it comes to that. You know, and this is something I've always seen from WWE, no matter what. Like you could look at for example, like Bad Blood, people focus on like, oh, The Rock came back. But then they don't realize that the show wasn't great. So it's something that, you know, like they kind of use to their advantage. They kind of use the crowd aspect to their advantage when it comes to these kind of things, because honestly, it hasn't been good. You know, the Charlotte thing, you know, again, I don't hate Charlotte like other people do.
Hate Charlotte. Yeah, no.
Yeah, you know, but, you know, I don't hate Charlotte at all. But it's just one of those things where every time she comes back, she's always like in a title picture. It gets exhausting. You know, and this was no different. She won the Rumble, and obviously they were trying to go course, but the reason why the people weren't behind her is because people didn't want her to be the winner of the Royal Rumble. And, you know, they kind of shot themselves in the foot when it comes to that. So now, you know, they feels like they did change course, and even Tiffany Stratton has suffered from it. Yeah, she's over. Yeah, the crowd loves her. But it just hasn't done the feud any favors at all, you know.
No.
And I don't know, that whole brawl thing was just kind of like, yeah, you did the senton and then you're gonna do it again. I don't know, I thought it was overly done. I was just like, once was enough for me. I know you're trying to make it exciting,
but that was literally like, Triple H telling us without telling us that the first brawl was not good. Why he tells them to go back out there and do it again.
Yeah, you know, and I feel like, you know, he's kind of, you know, they're trying to rely on this a little too much as of late, because, you know, obviously the Seth and Punk stuff was great. It's not going to take away from that. Like, that was great. And like every time they got on screen and they were fucking beating the shit out of each other, that was great. That was great stuff. But this kind of feud doesn't really kind of need that to like for it to be over. And I think it did any favors. I think it went backwards. I think it went backwards. Like, people didn't really want to see this match, and I think now the brawl it was like, I really don't want to see this match.
They
That's
really don't want. Yeah.
Charlotte was actively getting out of the way of the sentons.
It was one where Tiffany was at the top, and like she landed on all of the other guys except Charlotte. Charlotte was like way to your left, and Charlotte was like, and Tiffany landed on everyone on the right. She landed on all the girls, and they all lied down. I'm like, girl, that was your point. With like, you were supposed to move and like get on top of her, make this brawl mean something. Like you got out of the way and she didn't affect you. Like, You don't have to no sell everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't even connect. You could have, like, that could have been your opportunity. But, you know, what do I know?
Yeah, really. It was like, I mean, I hope the match is great. I think the match will still be solid, but it's just the build up so far is like, these are the kind of reasons where people, you know, they want women to main event the like WrestleMania. This is kind of the reason why they really haven't. There's nothing really significant for it to main event, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, especially when you have like guys like The Rock involved, and you know, you have Roman back, you have Punk back, you have Seth there. It's, you know, you're kind of like that. That's not even, that wouldn't even be close to even like, you know, like when you have like, hey, option 1, option 2, option. This is not even a third or fourth option for to main event night 1. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
I think they can open for me. For all I care.
I wouldn't even have them open.
Yeah, no, it's true. No, it's true. I'm on split on that. It's true, and it's sad. It's not like we're saying it to like degrade them, but it's just the way shit has been going. It's like, why do I really need to see this?
But there was some. Besides the Ray Phoenix vignette and the apparent Malachi Black or Aleister Black vignette, I did love the best tweet that I saw about the Malachi Black, Aleister Black vignette was the 4 represents how many bumps he's gonna take per month.
You know what?
Fuck.
Who said that? Who did that?
I don't know who it was. I don't even know who to give credit to, but that was a great tweet. But there's someone else who might be coming into WWE as well. Fightful Select reports that WWE is reportedly eyeing longtime NJPW veteran wrestler Jeff Cobb. Cobb is a free agent at the moment, but he's still been mainly appearing in New Japan Pro Wrestling as of late, still wrestling as a part of United Empire. After a recent NJPW loss, Cobb expressed uncertainty about his future in New Japan and hinted at going somewhere else. He said at the time, "Where does that leave Jeff Cobb? Maybe it's time to take my bags and go somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know." One source informed Fightful that Cobb actually appeared on WWE's Eternal roster this week, but that's yet to be confirmed. AEW sources also indicated that to Fightful that Cobb isn't expected to join their roster. He's made multiple appearances in All Elite Wrestling before. Per Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, there have been talks between WWE and Jeff Cobb, but no confirmation of a deal. Noting that Cobb is still booked for NJPW's Windy City Riot on April 11th, Meltzer wrote, "He's been living for a while in Fukuoka, Japan, but at 42, it also known that he senses that this perhaps is his last chance to make that kind of money WWE and AEW pay. He did turn down AEW several years back because he was happy in New Japan, so happy that he ended up moving there. The only thing that Wrestling Observer newsletter have heard from WWE at press time is that there have been talks, but no confirmation of a deal. Cobb is booked for April 11th New Japan show in Chicago. The 42-year-old wrestler competed in the 2004 Olympic Games. During his NJPW stint, he's held the IWGP World Tag Team titles, the Never Openweight Championship, and the NJPW World Television Championship. So what do you think about Jeff Cobb's prospects in WWE? And if he is to sign, if he is to come to the promotion, where do you think he should start? Is he the type of guy that you think goes directly to the main roster, or do you kind of use his star power that he's obtained from New Japan and put him over in NXT to raise the profile of that men's division? Krssi, what do you think?
NXT for sure, because they need him over there. Even though I feel like his star quality is much bigger than that, but I feel like they need the people over in NXT to make NXT important for the guys division. Let him go against what's the guy that's the champ now? Obafemi. Like those are the type of guys like he need big guys like that to go against. You know what I'm saying? So I think that effect would be great for NXT.
I'm of that belief as well, because I think that people are just trying to view NXT of what it was 3-4 years ago when it's not that anymore. They have trended back to being the third brand more than a developmental brand.
Correct.
Especially when you consider they got the WWE ID now, they got Evolve now, they got TNA now. Those are all developmental territories more than NXT is right now. And they need to kind of raise the profile of the men's division and have guys to go along with your Obafemis, with your Ethan Page, with your Javon Evans, with your Trick Williams. And I think that Trick and Ethan Page are probably going to go to the main roster. So you're going to have more spots to fill for a guy like Jeff Cobb to start out there. So I agree with you. Josh, what do you think about Jeff Cobb in WWE, and where do you think he should start if he does sign?
Maybe NXT. For one, I didn't know he was 42 years old. He's old as fuck. I didn't know that.
That is not old as fuck. Stop it.
42 is
Josh.
old. Me in wrestling years was old, but I didn't know he was 42. I mean, he looks good for 42. That's what I'm more so what I mean. You know, I was surprised with that. I was like 42. I was like, oh shit. Like, I thought he was younger. But I think NXT. I think NXT would be. I mean, I'm old too. I'm not saying I'm young, but I'll say NXT. I think if he was looking for some kind of significant push, I think NXT would be the significant push, because even if he goes to the main roster, I mean, even in AEW, he's not gonna, you know, we're gonna get great matches from him. We're gonna get great performances, but he's not gonna be a world champion. So if you want like a significant push, NXT will be, I mean, that would be the right spot for him just for that alone, because that men's division is, you know, outside of Oba and maybe Ethan, Trick, it hasn't been great. And then you're about to lose two of those guys soon anyway. So I would say NXT. And if he just wants to get paid, he could go anywhere. Like, well, not TNA. They don't got the money for it. But yeah. You know.
Well, TNA is WWE. I mean, like, you know, it's like the same umbrella now.
Well, I mean, they're not really the same umbrella. They're like, hey, we're partners with you, but you trying to sign anybody? That you on your own there, buddy.
Hey, little bro. You know, you can go out and try to get a car, little bro. I hope you pick one out. That's that type of thing. That's what TNA is. They're a little brother to WWE right now. Call me Mr. Bonda says, honestly, I think Cobb should stay in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm worried he might end up booked like Finn Balor and Shinsuke in the long run.
Oh no. Okay, see, we're not okay. Call me Mr. Bonda. Listen. Okay, see, this is the difference. You know, they came on as big stars and then they just kept signing because of the money, I feel like. Finn, I don't think is going to go anywhere. I think Finn is happy being a loser.
He's comfortable.
He's comfortable, right? He's comfortable at this point. He has a wife, like he's getting money, and you know, he's okay. I've come to the conclusion, as you know, my buddy over here has always said, he's a fucking loser. And I mean, what
he's booked that way, yes.
Right, he's booked as a fucking loser, and he's okay with being a fucking loser. It took me a while to accept it. I didn't really want to accept it.
You did not want to accept it for so long. That's
my friend over here, and every time I see him on TV, I get excited. But then he's on TV every week. However, he's just a fucking loser. He just loses every week, and I think he's okay with that. That is like the Miz effect now. Like you're almost the Miz now, friend. Just without a show.
Hey, we'll see.
And believe me, I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of calling him.
I didn't want to be.
I just accepted it. That's the difference. It's not like I generally want him to be a loser. It's just how many times he loses.
I didn't want him to be a loser.
I gave up, and I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. The moment I truly gave up on Finn was that WrestleMania match with Edge. That's when I gave up.
When he got busted in the head?
Yep, I gave up. I threw the white flag.
That he should have won that. He should have won that.
No. I remember I picked him. I was like, why did he not win that fight? He should have won. And he was the demon.
Everybody
at the
did.
Time.
Majority of people said he should have won.
You made the character of the demon look terrible. And I don't think we've seen a demon.
Demon died.
The
like,
demon died.
I mean, the demon was already like, it was already dead when it came to like the Roman match, but this one was kind of like the nail.
That was something.
This one was just like the nail.
Right. It was that was it. Right. You know, the whole thing with Roman, that's something kind of like, okay, we accept it. But then when he did the Edge thing, and the Edge thing wasn't even a bad match. It's just that he should have won. Again, Cope was like, nah, I gotta win this one. Because that was fucking ego at its fucking finest. Because Finn Balor should have won that fucking feud. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I think Cobb is making the right decision going to WWE. I feel like his prospects are better going to WWE than AEW. And I know, Call Me Mr. Bondo says he wants him to stay in New Japan. New Japan ain't paying them shit. They're paying them.
Niggas need check. Yo, you at your job and you've been there for mad long and they overworking you. I got to start taking my talents elsewhere. I'm looking at other companies. I'm trying to get my resume together. I'm leaving. I need more money.
And like the report said, he's 42. This is his last chance to get that bread, get that bag. So
and he hasn't been to this company, so he could say I went to WWE. Yeah. He'd be there about
he gets a 4 or 5 year contract. I mean,
that's it.
I get it. People want their favorites to stay at certain places. I completely get it. At the end of the day, we also got to realize that it's a business, and there's guys who have, there's guys who don't have that much time left. And I think right now, Jeff Cobb, his stock is pretty fair. It's not like it's like really high, but it's to the point that he's going to have interest. And right now, this is kind of his best or last probably shot to get that big contract.
Yeah.
Because even if he re-signs with New Japan, it's probably going to be just a year. It's probably just going to be a year contract, but they usually do.
Yeah, they don't sign nobody for more than like 1 or 2 years. That's it. But we got to follow up on one of our big reports from last week. It actually dropped our THH cut from last week's show yesterday on the channel. So let's give the follow up here. As previously reported, Jade Cargill reportedly had heat on her last year before her hiatus in WWE due to multiple backstage incidents. This led to some even questioning whether or not she was actually injured when she was written off television. The Wrestling Observer newsletter has more details on the situation, including more on what went down between Cargill and Baszler. There were several people online attempting to figure out the spot that led to the incident. Many suggested a match where it appeared that Cargill tapped out in a choke from Baszler, even though it wasn't the finish. It was claimed it might have been a receipt from Baszler, but instead it was a planned spot. It was noted that if someone put a choke in a title match in WWE to make a star tap, they would be fired immediately. It was an angle that was going to lead to more, but it was dropped for unknown reasons. There were problems in the ring with Cargill, including botched spots during Baszler and Zoe Stark versus Cargill and Bianca Belair matchup. However, the botches weren't considered a problem because it was understood that Cargill would be pushed despite her inexperience due to her look and AEW fame. The heat on Cargill was because when issues in the ring happened, she'd blame the other person and was allegedly rude about it. Cargill reportedly said that Baszler didn't know how to work, which didn't sit well with the rest of the women's locker room. The incident in question happened when Baszler pointed to a bruise on her arm. When Cargill pointed to a bruise on her arm and told Baszler she needed to learn how to work. Baszler replied, this is the best quote ever. Baszler replied that if she was shooting, they would both know it.
Wow.
Later, after Cargill blamed others for in-ring issues, Baszler confronted her with others. Jade Cargill got in Baszler's face, and Baszler refused to back down. Other talent saw it and helped calm things down, along with management, and split them up. Baszler was then taken to work with the producers on spots for her match that night. Nothing of significance happened after that. When it comes to others accusing Cargill of not really being hurt during her time off, that was a misunderstanding. Cargill asked for time off over the holidays and was told that unlike AEW, the holiday season was an important time for WWE. However, she got legitimately hurt and took time off anyway. that led to others questioning her injury, especially when she shot a Mountain Dew commercial during that time. Those who doubted the injury eventually realized it was real.
Listen.
Shayna Baszler, you have become even more from one of my favorite wrestlers. That response, if I was shooting, we would both know it.
Okay, see, this is where I have a problem with us. We can't take responsibility for our actions, especially women. I feel like, and I'm not trying to bash or be mean or like just be like insensitive or just like talk down on people. It's a real fucking thing. And that's the one of the fucking things I hate. We're our own worst fucking enemies. We have enablers, we have all this other shit, and like, bitch, you did some botch shit, and you be doing a lot of botch shit. Look at the fucking tapes. It ain't them, it's you. Why do you think they keep sticking you with tag teams or people babysitting you? Because you can't do shit by yourself. And you're supposed to be one of the top fucking ladies in the fucking business. Give me a fucking break. I'm sorry. But that is the most rude and unsincere shit that you could fucking say to someone, especially the fucking Shayna Baszler. Zoe Starks, maybe I can see.
And it's the fact that
I can see Zoe Starks.
Pretty much all the botches I've seen from Cargill has been Cargill's fault.
Yes, what did I fucking just say?
If it's not Jade's fault, it's WWE and Triple H for asking her to do certain things she's not ready to do.
And if she's not listen, how many free throws you got to keep throwing to make the free throws? You got to sit there and do a million and one free throws to make sure you get the fucking things when the game comes. Go to the fucking gym. Go to the performance center. Why are you like? You're at the performance center. Obviously, Natalia, whoever the fuck is teaching you, you're not getting. It's not clicking for you. It's not clicking. So we got then just eliminate the fucking move in the first place. You have so much potential that it sucks that you keep doing the same bullshit.
I don't understand this. This is it sounds like very a messy situation. I see Annika in the chat saying, "Oh, Triple H needs to make them use this for a feud." They're not. Like, the people that go to WWE shows are not the people that are online. The people that are online that know about this situation are not the people in the building. So it makes no sense to use this for a feud.
Yeah, but I also don't think that usually that solves the problem. Like, that it doesn't really help the situation. I think there's people who are on board that they could do that, but I don't think in a situation like this that's gonna do anybody any favors when it comes to that.
Child, listen.
Agreed. Man, I want to hear more about this. And Jade was on last night's SmackDown. She did a promo kind of responding to what Naomi had to say last week. It wasn't as good as Naomi, I will say.
No, but I mean, it was cute because you needed help from the other girls. So that's why I was like, they don't even have confidence in you because you had to throw in Raquel and Liv to make sure that your promo got over.
They didn't think that she can carry that, and that's why they did it That's why they did it as a pre-tape as well. She didn't do it live. But speaking of the great performance from Naomi and Bianca Belair last week on SmackDown, as previously reported, Naomi admitted to attacking Jade Cargill on last Friday's episode of WWE SmackDown in a segment with Bianca Belair. Fightful Select reports that the segment received rave reviews backstage, getting heavy praise. Aeneas Filipinis was said to be the writer for the segment, which was produced by TJ Wilson. One WWE employee said that it seemed like the first time Naomi had the chance to be featured in a segment with substance, and she shined in that role. Yep. Belair also received praise for her work, as did Jade Cargill. The writing, producing, and camera work were also praised. One employee spoke privately via Twitter DM to Sean Rossap, praising the camera work when Cargill arrived. Several others also spoke highly of the entire segment, and it was also noted that there were no issues with Cargill this week, contrary to the past reports that she had backstage heat. So, hey, there's a good thing. There's good things around. So hopefully they keep on the good trend with Jade for now.
I mean, I hope so. Let's see what happens.
Speaking of the vignette that we talked about earlier with Rey Fenix on last night's SmackDown, according to the WrestleVotes Radio, plans are underway that will reunite Fenix and Penta in WWE. It was also reported that there were there were never any indication that Fenix wouldn't sign with WWE. WrestleVotes stated, according to sources, the impending debut of Rey Fenix is indeed happening, as his name has begun to resurface on marketing documents once again. That source confirms that a deal between Fenix and the company has either been agreed to in principle or is on the verge of completion as of this writing. We're told WWE never had any indication Rey Fenix wouldn't be joining, as it was just a matter of time. We can also confirm WWE is planning on presenting the team of Penta and Fenix as the Lucha Bros. You said it to us in the chat, Josh, but I think it is wise to keep them separate for now so it means something when they reunite. What do you think about them putting Fenix on SmackDown?
I like it. Because SmackDown another worker because you're gonna get you have somebody who could have a bunch of nice matches on SmackDown, kind of similar to Penta, what they're doing with Penta. So I think it's a good move overall. Like I when I saw it, I was like, oh shit. I was like, I like it. I like the fact that they're separate. Because my thing was more of like, hey, that if they get into a program, have them have a feud. That was kind of my original thought. But to keep them separate, I actually like that idea better.
Agreed for sure. Two final notes in regards to SmackDown. Drew McIntyre, in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer revealed that Drew was switched to SmackDown with the idea of an eventual feud with Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Rhodes has recently found himself drawn back into the story with The Rock, now with John Cena added to the mix following his March 1st, 2025 WWE Elimination Chamber heel turn. Having won the men's Elimination Chamber match, Cena now heads to WrestleMania 41 to face Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. It's this match in Las Vegas that could be the tipping point for McIntyre versus Rhodes, with Meltzer going on to note that a Cena win could put the plan falling apart completely. So we're going to have to find new plans for Drew after WrestleMania. And then the rumor surfaced earlier this week on wrestling social media threads and channels attributed to PW Torch's Wade Keller that former WWE United States champion Shinsuke Nakamura was on his way out of WWE soon, and that his US title rematch that was on last week's show was originally planned for WrestleMania 41. However, the match was moved earlier to SmackDown this month instead. Thus far, there appears to be no evidence that Wade Keller reported this rumor on his recent podcast. Fightful Select had also later reported that after asking about the topic with WWE, no one had heard anything to lend credibility to the rumor that Nakamura was leaving the company. Dave Meltzer also addressed the rumor. According to Meltzer, after reaching out to WWE on Nakamura's status, they responded that Nakamura leaving the company was completely false. Meltzer added that he later asked WWE if Nakamura's match against LA Knight on SmackDown last week was his last with the company and if he would not be used before his contract expired. He noted that he's not yet received an answer from WWE about the question, and at the moment Nakamura is still under contract with WWE. Meltzer also stated, I am not sure what the Nakamura thing is other than he's not being released from his contract. He's still under contract. He's still with the company. Nakamura rarely appeared on WWE TV last year, but he made his return in November and of course won the United States Championship from LA Knight at Survivor Series. He later lost that last Friday on SmackDown. So it seems that he's still here for a while, as he was on SmackDown last night as well. So that was a mood point, a false rumor, if you will.
Yeah, I guess I don't know because wasn't it worded that they said they're not going to renew his deal? I think that was the word, not necessarily him leaving. Yeah. So I mean, there could still be maybe some small truth to that. If they just don't re-sign them, but we'll wait and see. That's the only thing you can really do. Like at this point. If they do it, they do it.
We got a super chat donation I wanted to read before we move on to Monday Night Raw. Call me Mr. Bonda says, speaking of underappreciated, Shayna Baszler, heartbroken emoji. I mean, Shayna Baszler deserves more respect. You would know if I was shooting is one of the best quotes ever I've read about a report. That is awesome. Shayna
But also,
Baszler,
I think Jade is, when it comes to that, Jade is not really doing herself favors because Shayna alone is well respected in the locker room, and it's not only just the women's, it's the men's too, because of what she had to go through. And she went through, they respect of MMA, and then she did the indies for a while, and then she got into wrestling. That's how. So there's a lot of respect with Shayna, and that's why I'm like, when they said there was heat on Jade, I'm like, yeah, you probably picked a fight with the wrong person overall.
With the wrong one for sure. But let's move on to WWE Raw on Netflix this past week. WWE Raw on Netflix was from Madison Square Garden. Week 9, which was last week, they did 3.1 million viewers, so up from the week prior. The show this week, though, featured Seth Rollins defeating CM Punk in what I thought was a fantastic steel cage matchup, thanks to the returning Roman Reigns, who showed up to actually help Seth get the win, and then post-match, he beat Seth's ass like he stole something with a Superman punch, a spear, and a stomp onto the floor. After officials and security stopped him from stomping Seth into the steel steps, Roman noticed his wise man, Paul Heyman, consoling CM Punk, so the OTC climbed in the cage, threw Punk into the cage walls, and delivered a huge spear to stand tall to close the show in MSG to a thunderous pop from the crowd.
They didn't even show that part. Asshole.
What part?
The part when he went in the cage with Punk.
They did.
I saw it. Not on my Netflix because it cut off.
Oh shit. Jey Uso beat Grayson Waller. Post-match, you had Jay got the better of both members of A-Town Down Under with Austin Theory until Gunther came down and applied a sleeper to once again stand over his WrestleMania 41 challenger. The New Day defeated LWO in a pretty decent tornado tag team matchup, thanks in large part to interference from a masked Chad Gable, or so we thought. Because later in the show, Gable revealed that the masked man was not him, as he was taken away by security. Logan Paul had a god-awful segment with Andrew Schultz. For some reason, he was on this show. He tried to beat up the comedian, or quote-unquote comedian, only for AJ Styles to make the save and stand tall with Schultz. They had Macaulay Culkin right there, but they chose Andrew Schultz.
Right. They had so many other like stars that they could have did this with. You know what I'm saying?
Fabulous. One of the random rappers they had there. Like, many choices. Cody Rhodes cut a promo to set up John Cena's return on next week's Monday Night Raw, while Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley had an in-ring confrontation, with Rhea calling out Bianca for getting involved in the title match last week with Io and blaming her for the loss. Both Rhea and Bianca disrespected and pushed Sky away, only for Io to slap both women across the face to stand tall. They really did a lot to elevate both that triple threat and the Roman, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins triple threat, where either one of them I could see main event in night 1 of WrestleMania. But my question to you, Krssi, is the return of Roman Reigns enough to get CM Punk his first WrestleMania main event?
Yes, absolutely, for sure. Because people are more vested into that match. Unfortunately, the Tribal Chief Seth and CM Punk, they were cooking, and you could see by the crowd's reactions and everything. This is what they're going to go with for sure.
Josh, what about you? Do you think that Roman is enough to make that the main event?
No. We have Cena and Cody.
Cena and Cody's night 2. That's night 2 for sure.
Sorry, yes. Oh yeah. My bad. I'm sorry.
That's already pretty much confirmed. It's Cena and Cody night 2 main event. It's really up in the air what night 1. They have 3 kind of choices, but Jey Uso pretty much gave up on that hope. So really 2 choices, the 2 triple threats.
They're gonna open up. They gotta open up one of the nights.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think there's even 2 choices. I think it's gonna be the triple threat main event with Punk, Seth, and Roman. I thought Roman, like the question you asked, Roman's enough.
Yeah, I just think that because there's nothing on the line, there is a chance for Io, Bianca, and Rhea to get hot and headline.
I think to me that plays like that. That's their advantage. But I think overall, I'm like, you have Punk and Roman. two of the top stars. I mean, that alone is just kind of
enough too.
Yeah.
I agree, Davion. I don't know why we are trying to make Andrew Schultz a fucking babyface. Who asked for that?
I mean, that segment overall, it was bad because like Logan, what the shit he was saying was just very it wasn't good. Like he wasn't good on the mic. You know, obviously the boos were hilarious, but besides that, I mean, he just wasn't good. Like it wasn't a good showing for him. It was not a good showing. And then having Andrew Schultz, I mean, it was just like, I'm like, why do I need to see this? Like he's not good. Like he's not good. He was fine like in Guy Code, and that was barely, but he's not good. Like I just don't see what's funny about him. And then the whole Kendrick stuff was even more weird. So it was kind of like now I just look at him weird now. And it's just
what did he
them
say?
trying to make him baby face was just like even more awkward.
He's the one that Kendrick was referring to. He's like, when don't let no white comedian talk about no black woman, that's law. He was talking about Andrew Schultz.
Oh.
Yeah, that was like the main,
And
like,
Andrew Schultz, if it wasn't about him, he made it about him by complaining about it.
Who was he complaining about? Wow.
About Kendrick. About Kendrick saying that line. He was like, he was talking about me.
Yeah, and then he tried to make it a joke saying like how he will make love to him now and stuff like that. And it just got super awkward. Like it wasn't funny. Like it was more like it was just like, bro, what are you trying to do? But I don't know, with Raw, honestly, I think that like that last like maybe I want to say 45 or like those last two things saved the show for me. The women's segment and the steel cage match to me saved that Raw
show
for me.
Yeah, I was at like a 5.5 for the show because I did enjoy New Day and LWO, but then the
even New Day that was getting heat with the people in the crowd with the Kevin on stage dude. Like I thought that was mad funny, and they didn't show any of that.
That was
stuff.
the only good thing of the first like 90 minutes of Raw this week. Like, it really got saved by Io, Rhea, Bianca, Roman, Seth, and Punk. Those were the stars.
Because the match itself, like the steel cage match itself, like I thought it was a good match. Like it was great. The only nitpick I have was like the last like maybe 5 minutes was like the fucking finisher galore, and then they left the fucking door open whole time. So it was kind of just like they kind of gave that away. So
they didn't want to show the crowd. Like we knew what we hear all of y'all making noise, and it's just like, hello.
Yeah, the Roman stuff I didn't mind. I thought the Roman stuff was a great touch, and I thought Seth needed to win the match. So Seth winning was a good move. I know some people were down on having the match finish like that, which I could understand. I would have preferred like a significant finish. At the same time, when you're doing like 4, 5, 6 of your finishers the same time, and all you guys are doing is kicking out, at that point it doesn't even fucking matter.
I just wish they wouldn't telegraph the finish by just leaving the door open for like
right. That's what I'm saying. They
left it open. Yeah, and then I know some people were trying to say like I know like we had one person and a few others were trying to say like, oh, do you think like this is them trying to take a shot at AEW in regards to like the finisher galore? I was like, no, because WWE has always had that finisher problem. They've always had that problem where
Punk does that a lot in his big matches.
Yeah, in Elimination Chamber, he did the same thing. Like, so I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's a situation where for me, like, and I said it, like Seth and Punk, like they have good chemistry. I just think they could do stuff better than that. Like they could do other stuff meaningful. Like you could still have close finishes, false, like all that stuff. They could have done more. Like they have the capability of doing more than just like relying on that shit. Like, oh, stomp, kick out. Oh, another curve stomp, kick out. Like, GTS, like it was all that stuff. I was like, at least for me, like I didn't hate it, but it was just one of those things that was kind of like off-putting. But besides that, I thought those two, again, those last two things saved the show, because I don't know, the Garden, they hyped it up, and then it was kind of like, if I was there in the Garden and I had to pay $190 for that show, I would have been like, fuck, I could have just stayed home.
How much was the ticket?
So like nosebleeds, it was like the cheapest was like $190.
That's insane. And it wasn't even.
It looked great on my television set.
It wasn't even the best show at Madison Square Garden this week. That's crazy. Speaking,
it wasn't.
It really wasn't. It's sad to say, but you know.
Speaking with W fan, Seth Rollins spoke about his wife, Becky Lynch, and her return to WWE. He said on Becky, she took a few months off. She did some television and film projects. She's gearing up to get ready to come back. Don't know when that is going to happen just yet. He continued, she has not mentioned anything about retirement. There are future plans for her in professional wrestling. It was previously reported that there was a planned segment featuring Becky Lynch returning to WWE TV that was scrapped on the Raw on Netflix premiere on January 6th. She also attended the Netflix and WWE Lunch and Learn presentation at Netflix HQ last December, so we shall wait and see. But speaking of Seth freaking Rollins, or freaking no more, as Fightful notes, Rollins' roster entry on the WWE roster page has been changed. He was listed before as Seth freaking Rollins in the header. Although the bio on the page continues to list his nickname, he no longer is viewed as that on the roster page. He is just Seth Rollins. Rollins began being referred to as Seth freaking Rollins back in 2021 under Vince McMahon, and now similar changes have been done to two other wrestlers, as Bronson Reed no longer has the nickname Big Bronson Reed in front of his name, and while Dominic Mysterio's dirty nickname has likewise been dropped on the WWE roster page as well. So some changes there. On March 14th, WWE made a big announcement about an upcoming premium live event. WWE Backlash will return to the United States after being in Puerto Rico in 2023 and Lyon, France last year. It will take place on May 10th in St. Louis, Missouri. The announcement was made by St. Louis native Randy Orton via WWE social media platforms. Then we also had a big announcement about a WWE superstar who's going to be making appearances for other promotions, as Natalya has been announced for two major promotions outside of WWE. First, the Hart family member was announced for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 13 on April 17th in Las Vegas during WrestleMania weekend for the GCW Collective. And then Natalya will also be featured on the NWA Crockett Cup 2025 on May 17th. So, yeah, after being re-signed, they did absolutely jack and shit with her. So
they don't do shit with what did I call Natty? Last minute Nat? No, what did I call her?
Last minute Natty, yes, you did.
I go last minute Natty. They don't do shit with Natty. Let Natty do her fucking thing. Go do those things. Last minute Natty. They call you for last minute shit.
I'm glad she's doing something. I think her in Bloodsport will be a lot of fun, especially if they put her in there with like a Masha Slamovich or someone like that.
Bleed and win. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
But like we said, Raw on Netflix was not the best show from MSG this week. That card goes to NXT Roadblock. The show did 732,000 viewers, and it might just be one of, if not the best NXT TV show they've ever done, with an all-time great crowd, which was highlighted by Stephanie Vaquer defeating Julia in a damn good main event to retain the NXT North American Championship and win the NXT Women's Championship to become a double champ in the brand. You also had the Hardys making their WWE in-ring return once again against Fraxium, this time in a super fun opener where the Hardys retained the TNA World Tag Team Championships. Jordan Grace defeated Roxanne Perez in a very good bout, while Javon Evans beat Ethan Page in an absolute banger of a street fight. Post-match, you had Timu Shield came out to attack Evans. Only thing that sucked on the show. And finally, you had Obafemi defeat Moose in an awesome hoss fight to retain the NXT Championship. Josh, you mentioned earlier you actually watched fully NXT this week. What did you think about Roadblock? I think it's the best NXT TV show Shawn Michaels has ever produced.
Yep.
Same. Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, you know, I give credit when it's due, and it was a great show. obviously, like the the TNA aspect did help as well, because I thought Moose and Oba was a great match. I didn't agree with the star rating. I thought it should have been higher. That's just my take.
I think it should have been the same star rating he gave Javon and Ethan. He should have gave that to Oba and Moose. I thought Oba and Moose was the best match on the show.
Same.
Yeah. I agree with that, because it was a fun opener. Seeing the Hardys back in WWE, that's something that they've been wanting.
Yeah.
The venue itself on TV looks great. It's just, believe me, when I tell you guys, even for the chat who doesn't know, it's not a great venue to watch it. It's more.
Yeah, the setup of like how it, like I can imagine.
Right.
I've been
It's
in there
not
plenty
good.
of times, and I'm like,
it's not a good to be in the
at?
crowd. Like, it's not a good setup to be in the crowd. But on TV, it looks way better. Like, honestly, it doesn't do it justice when it comes to that. And for the main event, I wanted this match to be better, and I was kind of disappointed with it. People were excited that Stephanie won, and I get it, but I gotta call it like it is. I thought that the main event was kind of just flat for me.
I think it really needed to be longer and just have like a better finish to the match. Because you can't do finisher spam finish after the main event of Raw this week.
Yeah, and and I get it again. Like I said before, like people were excited. Stephanie won, and they got, but it's like, yeah, I get it. And honestly, I'm seeing the comments saying that Julia was hurt. I don't think it was even that. Honestly, I don't think it was even that. I'm calling bullshit on that. I don't think it's because she's hurt. If she was hurt, then you don't put her in the match. That's just how I see it. Yeah, she's been banged up. That was reported that she's been banged up for a while. So they had time to prepare. And this is not the first time where they've worked together, and honestly, I've kind of felt lackluster. Maybe it's because they're two big stars, and sometimes people just don't have that chemistry. And this is kind of the second time that I've seen that between these two ladies. So it's probably just a thing of chemistry. I think it's just those two workers. Yeah, they're great on their own, and when they're on screen, it looks good. But when it actually comes to wrestling, I just haven't got that result.
Fair. Some news notes coming out of Roadblock. The young Bloodline members, two potential members of the Bloodline, were signed last year in Lance Anoa'i and Hikuleo. Both have not appeared on WWE television as of yet. Fightful Select reports that at least with Anoa'i, he suffered an injury and was out of action. He was expected to be back around now, so more should be known soon. As for Hikuleo, he has yet to be featured in any way, but there's still no word on why or where he is after signing with the company.
I forgot about him. I forgot.
I mean, this is why I said I hope Jeff Cobb doesn't get Hikuleo on social media. I hope he doesn't. Speaking on the extreme life of Matt Hardy, Matt noted that his NXT run is over for the time being. He said on the show, yes, I do think we would want to run it back with Fraxium. As of right now, our little run with NXT is wrapped. We do have some stuff on our schedule to do with WWE and a little later down the road. Nothing specifically with NXT yet, but just stuff. I'm going to leave it at that right now. We have some stuff lined up with WWE. And then finally, talking about the Wrestling Observer newsletter, talking about WWE ID program, Wrestling Observer newsletter reported some details on the new WWE ID program and how it works with the independents. According to the newsletter, when a WWE ID talent goes to a promotion, the contract states that Gabe supposedly puts the matches together. He gives the script to the promoter who pays the talent. They can promote the talent, comes from WWE. WWE also covers the travel costs with a stipend, and then the promoter pays the difference if the costs are higher than the stipend. However, GCW's Brett Lauderdale took to Twitter to clear the air about that, and he wrote, "My experience with WWE ID is, number one, Gabe doesn't put the matches together. Number two, I've never seen or heard of a script. Number three, we are allowed to push WWE ID on talent announcements, but we don't. And number four, not aware of any talent stipends or travel share, but that would be cool." Love Brett.
What? what, sir?
But speaking of WWE ID, we had the second week of WWE Evolve. The show featured Aura Mensa beating Riley Osborne in a decent main event. Keanu Carver and Harlem Lewis picked up squash wins to set up a future hoss fight between the two of them. Zara Zacher defeated Kylie Ray in an upset win as well. And then finally, another WWE developmental, TNA. Impact with the show featured.
He's not lying. He's not lying. He's not lying.
The show featured Eddie Edwards beating Leon Slater in a fine match to earn the System and the Colognes the advantage in the Lethal Lockdown match at Sacrifice. Later in the show, Joe Hendry defeated Alexander Hammerstone in the main event to retain the TNA World Title. Post-match, the System came out to jump Hendry until the Hardys, Leon Slater, and Elijah all made the save, previewing the 10-man tag team steel cage matchup at Sacrifice. Tessa Blanchard and Cora Jade picked up a win over Masha Slamovich and Lei Ying Lee, with Tessa pinning the TNA Knockouts World Champion. Wesley.
I'm sorry. Shit. My bad.
Wesley beat Laredo Kid in a pretty good matchup. Post-match, Ace Austin and the Rascals confronted them. Mustafa Ali and Mike Santana had a sit-down summit that was easily one of the best promo exchanges TNA has had in years, with Ali offering Santana a bottle of champagne and told him that he would disappoint his daughter when he drinks again, leading to Santana attacking him. But Ali, with great hands, and Tasha Steelz using the numbers got the upper hand, and the segment ended with Ali pouring a drink in a cup for Santana and leaving. That set the stage for TNA Sacrifice last night. Sacrifice. The show featured Matt Hardy, Joe Hendry, Nick Nemeth, Elijah, and Leon Slater defeating the System and the Colognes in a fun 10-man tag team steel cage match main event. But post-match, Ryan Nemeth came into the cage. He locked it behind him as his brother and Matt Hardy were celebrating the win until Nick Nemeth turned heel and laid out Hardy with the danger zone. Then the Nemeth brothers bloodied Matt with the steel chair while fending off the rest of the babyfaces to close the show. Moose picked up the win over Jeff Hardy in a good ladder match to retain the X Division Championship. Masha Slamovich retained the TNA Knockouts World Championship against Cora Jade. Tessa Blanchard picked up another win over Lei Ying Lee, and she wore that.
What the fuck? Oh my god! What the fuck are we doing? Oh, what the yo?
You know when a troll is a fucking troll.
Oh my god, yo.
Ash and Heather by Elegance and the Personal Concierge beat Spitfire to win the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team title. Ace Austin and the Rascals picked up a win in a pretty fun Lucha Libre tag team matchup over Wesley, Tyson, and Tyreek. Steve Macklin defeated Frankie Kazarian thanks to interference from Eric Young. And Santana suffered a loss to Mustafa Ali in an awesome encounter thanks to help from the great hands and Tasha Steelz. And then Mustafa stole a beer from a fan in the crowd and left it in the ring for Santana. I'm loving Ali and Santana. That's the best.
Yeah, I want to say this is like Ali and then his whole faction. I'm loving this whole like thing for Ali. Deserves this. This is what he needed when he was on the other promotion. But they didn't get
I mean, me personally, I don't mind the feud. It's just the outcome. Just knowing what Santana went through, and you're using that as a storyline is always gonna kind of
trigger.
I think it's Santana who wants.
No, and I'm fine with that. Yeah, and I'm glad that he's okay in it. In a sense, like I'm glad he's okay in it, but it's always gonna leave like a weird sense, like for me, like it's always weird when they do stuff like that. In general, it has nothing to do with them, but the match I actually like that match. The matchup between them.
I thought that was the best match.
I mean, it was something. It was something. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But Tessa, I'm like, what the fuck? What with Tessa? Like, what the fuck was that?
Why is it always the most racist white women that want to get braids and dress black and culture vote?
It always be them. It is absolutely those people. Yep.
And to me, this is not even coming off as a good heat. It's coming off as cringe as fuck because it's just, and the fact that TNA is even allowing
doing it on
this,
purpose at this point.
yeah, the fact that they're even allowing this, it's kind of just. I mean, I'm not surprised they're allowing this. It's just TNA is gonna TNA, like
Pretty much.
TNA.
Always. Never fails. Never fails. They're always going to TNA. Tell me, Senior Under says, tell me when SP3 is telling lies. I'm not, I mean, yeah, it is. It is what it is. But finally, we've made it to Krssi Luv's favorite part of the show, the best, worst of the week, moment and match of the week. Best and worst of the week. Krssi Luv, we'll start with you. Who had the best week this week? Who had the worst week?
Best week, Toni Storm.
Fair. Worst week?
Worst week, Tony Khan.
We're right on the money. That is my best and worst of the week too. Timeless Toni Storm.
And we didn't even talk about that. That's see what I'm saying.
We did it. The two Tonys are the best and worst. Timeless Toni Storm, best of the week. Tony Khan for the bonehead decision with the Revolution main event, worst of the week. Josh, what about you?
Best of the week. I'm gonna give it to Toni and Mariah.
Yeah.
And the worst, I'm actually gonna go different. I'm gonna give it to Mox and Copeland.
Also fair. All right, and we got a moment of the week. I'm gonna give it to Roman Reigns' return on Raw. Krssi?
Yeah, facts. Roman Reigns' return.
Josh?
I want to say Roman's return. I'm at matter of fact, yeah, fuck it, Roman's return. I was gonna say Ospreay and Fletcher, but I'll go with Roman because that saved. I think that Raw.
And I think this is the week that has been the best week in ring for wrestling this year.
Yes.
So I have 20 matches I was gonna name. I have a
20. Oh my
20. I've watched way too much.
I got
wrestling.
10. So whatever. Go ahead.
I thought you was bluffing, and
no,
he was like,
I was not bluffing. Number 20, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Roye Uyoa.
I'm glad he got 20. We're gonna have to put a bracket on this. We're gonna have to put a stop on
I'm stopping at 20. 20 is my peak. That's what I'm going to set. 19, Kazuchika Okada versus Brody King from Revolution. Number 18, Street Profits versus DIY from SmackDown. Number, 17, Speedball Mike Bailey versus the Beast Mortals from Dynamite. Number 16, Mercedes 16. I'm losing count.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's 16, too hard.
16, Mercedes Moné versus Momo Watanabe from Revolution. 15, Shingo Takagi versus Boltin Oleg from New Japan Cup. 14, Drilla Maloney versus Ishii from New Japan Cup. 13, Gunther versus Axiom from SmackDown. 12, Javon Evans versus Ethan Page from Roadblock. 11, Shingo Takagi versus Drilla Maloney from this morning's New Japan Cup show. Number 10, Hiroki Goto versus Yuji Nagata from the New Japan Cup show. 9, David Finlay versus Yuya Uemura from the New Japan Cup show. 8, Obafemi versus Moose from Roadblock. 6, Hangman Adam Page versus 7, and Hangman Adam Page versus MJF from Revolution. 6, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk from Monday Night Raw. 5, Swerve Strickland versus Ricochet from Revolution. 4, Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita from Revolution. 3, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Taichi from the New Japan Cup show this morning. Number 2, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher, the Steel Cage from Revolution. Number 1, Timeless Toni Storm, Mariah May from Revolution. Krssi.
So I have 10. Let me do my 10 now. 10, Moose Obafemi. 9, Street Profits DIY. 7, Gunther Axiom. Where am I at? 6, Speedball Mike Bailey Bandito. Is that his name? No, Bruce
Beast Mortals.
There you go. Thank you. Sorry, Beast Mortal. MJF Hangman. Punk Seth. Kenny Omega and Takeshita. Swerve Ricochet. Will Ospreay Kyle. and then Toni Storm, Mariah May.
There we go. Got 10 from Krssi this week. That's how good this week was. Josh?
I'm gonna bump it up to 5. I'm gonna go 5 because I can't do 10. I can't do 10 because I'm gonna fuck up. So I'm gonna do 5. Number 10, I'm gonna go with Moose versus Oba. Number 4, I'm gonna go with Kenny versus Konosuke. Number 3, damn, what was number 3 in my head? I just had it and I lost it. Number 3, I actually did like the street fight with Javon Evans and Ethan Page. That was number 3 for me. Number 2, the cage match, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. And number 1, Timeless Tony and Mariah May.
Look at that. We all got the same number 1. As long as we finish the same, we're on the same path. We got 2 final super chat donations before we close up shop here. Call Me Mr. Monda says Joe Hendry is still an overrated bum. Thank you, Mr. Monda.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting.
Dion, where you been at all show? We've been here for almost damn near 4 hours.
No, Mr. Monda, he's gave us plenty of super chats today.
Not Mr. Don. I'm talking about Dion.
Oh. And Dion with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, good brother. He says, I saw a video about John Cena's behavior on Total Bellas. The signs was there. I literally tweeted that out after Elimination Chamber. I was like, he's been a heel for years on Total Divas and Total Bellas. And shout out, I think you might have saw the same video I did. I think Wrestle Gifts did a video on John Cena on the show. It was great.
Talking about he's at the dining room table with everybody and what time everybody got to be in the house.
Yes, when he's giving everybody the house rules.
Oh yeah, no, he was always an asshole. Sorry, like he was like he always had fucking rules, and she had to sign to be in the house and all that stuff like that. No, this was real. That's real life, John.
And he wanted Bree and Brian to kill their dog.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, he's a menace. Like he's a fucking menace.
Yeah.
Like you gonna live at my house? No, you can't have no fucking dog hair, all this other stuff. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Krssi, thank you. Josh, thank you. Thank you to Lyric, who was an awesome special guest today. And thank you to all of y'all for watching and all the super chat donations. This is like a record for us. 18. Thank you so much, guys. You showed us a lot of love today. Josh, I'll give you the floor first this week. Let everybody know where they can follow you on social media, when they will see you again.
You can follow me, JM Punk 321 on Instagram. And you'll see me again next Saturday. THH 321, right? 321.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Krssi?
Yep. And
sorry.
I wasn't finished.
My bad.
No, I was gonna say no. I was fine. I was just gonna say that because tomorrow I actually have a small conference call. So I might be back for a show in June. So when that happens and I actually get official word, I'll announce that next week.
Okay, good for you, friend.
Good stuff. Krssi.
So guys, follow me, Krssi Luv _1, Tru Heel Krssi Luv, or just my plain name. Watch our SP and myself as we talked about the traders this week with our special guest host. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank now. What was her name? Ella J. Thank you, friend. Which was totally fun. We had a great time doing that. So check that out on our other channel. Other than that, you can invite me, tweet me, write me, whatever. Come on your show, do whatever. Or you want to just get married? Hit me up. Thanks, friends.
Absolutely. And you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Tru Heel SP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Tru Heel Heat, patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat, $3 a month. Best ways to support us when we are not live here. I had my Sacrifice preview that was up there as well. I will be back on Tru Heel Heat Sports and Entertainment tomorrow to review Daredevil Born Again episode 3. So join me for that over there. In the meantime, between time, like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're watching us on demand, comment down below. Let us know what you thought about this week in pro wrestling and any of the stuff that we talked about over the last 3.5 hours. But until next week, we got to try to follow up Sat and Lyric with another special guest probably next week. So stay tuned for that. But until then, this has been Tru Heel Heat 320 Tone Deaf Writers. We are signing off until next time.
Later.